am going live today is because, or tonight, I guess it's 1 a.m. A couple reasons. One, I couldn't sleep, so I figured why not go live and see if there's any audience out there who wants to hang out for a bit. Second, because we're running out of time. If you guys want to take advantage of the Square and Compass Patreon offer, Patreon discount, you get 10% off of all our Patreon deals for the next, I guess, 5 days until 3 days. Till June 1st, 2025. You can get 10% off the Patreon membership. So I hope you guys will consider and check it out. The code is 23D69. But you know what? I figured why not jump on the live stream for a couple minutes, maybe encourage people to hit that like and subscribe button, share, talk about Freemasonry. If I can't sleep anyways, why not hang out for a couple minutes on live and just see who's floating around? I have been posting a bunch of stuff on the Medium channel lately, so I hope you guys will check that out as well if you get the chance. But please take a moment. Let me just see if I can track down the code information once again and then put that in the chat so people can see it. Let's see. And welcome if you're just joining us. It's 1 a.m. here, Eastern Standard Time. I don't know what time it is where you are, where you might be watching, but I do hope you will take a moment to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, let me know how it's going, if there's anything you want to talk about. My cat is behind the computer right now, just knocked over a bottle cap, as cats are known to do. If the camera shakes at all, it's or the phone shakes at all, it's because Bandit is behind it. But sometimes I do wonder if there might be a 1 a.m. audience or a late night audience, maybe other time zones that can track me down or want to watch these live streams, want to watch my content. So why not try it to see how it goes? My cat might get in front of the camera in a second, depending on. Well, there's one person here. I'm not sure if I concur with your username. Having said that, I do hope you'll hit the like button and the subscribe button. Hong Kong Sports as well. I hope that you are doing well, Hong Kong. I hope you will hit the like button and subscribe button. Well, from Alcatraz, you can still like and subscribe if you're watching, even from Alcatraz. So I hope you'll do so, Hong Kong Sports. Actually, I think you might have been second, but I do appreciate you being here. This is my Square and Compass Promotions channel. It's where I host content and live streams to talk about Freemasonry, how it both was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. And so with that in mind, I'm hoping you guys will be so kind as to hit like and subscribe. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know if you have any questions about Freemasonry, any thoughts, any comments, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. I mean, that happens, so no worries. I mean, people will subscribe, not subscribe to things. It just depends on kind of what your interests are and how they change. So I appreciate you liking and subscribing. I truly do. What is Freemasonry? I'll do my best, Hong Kong. I had to be honest with you, I never thought once I would say the phrase, I'll do my best, honk, honk. So there you go. What is Freemasonry? Freemasonry is an umbrella term that refers to organizations that evolved from or descended from the stone mason guilds of Europe. And the way these different organizations relate to one another is through what's called recognition, right? In 2025, it really is a social club and a fraternity, as well as a sorority in some cases. Well, it's a society with secrets. It's not a secret society, JP. Thank you, Dirt Dollar. I do appreciate that. I appreciate you supporting my persistence. It's something I love Freemasonry, so I love to talk about it. And good question. When you say why free, you mean why Freemasonry, I'm assuming. There's different reasons for that. So Masonry is the process of, or the art of building things and creating things through stone and through stonework. Freemasonry initially either referred to Masons who were particularly particularly skilled and worked with a certain type of stone that was called freestone. It was a type of limestone, or it referred to the idea of free as being free to travel and free to practice your art of stonemasonry in different jurisdictions. And then the term Freemasonry eventually was turned over to speculative Masons, such as myself. So this is not, I am a member of a Masonic lodge and a Masonic body, but I do not speak for them. I speak for myself and my own views on Freemasonry. I love it. It's one of my favorite things in the world, but I don't represent any organization other than my own views, if that makes sense. So I am a member of a Masonic lodge, which meets at a Masonic building or a Masonic temple, but I don't speak for anybody other than myself. Good question, Uncle. Why should I care? I'll get to that in just 1 second, I promise. So speculative, it just refers to Masons who, honestly, the way you can think about it is it's Masons who don't actually work with stone. Like I can't build anything to save my life out of stone or anything else. So those are operative Masons. They operate on stone. Speculative Masons, which is what I am, the way you can think about it is we speculate on kind of philosophical questions, how to be better people, how to make the world a better place, how we can apply lessons of geometry and stonemasonry to our moral lives. So that makes sense. Oh, the high up question. JP, I do appreciate you being here very much, but there really is no higher ups. That's kind of one of those myths in a certain way. Z, welcome. Thank you for being here. But I am just a normal person, or at least I try to be. I'm a speculative astronaut. There you go. I mean, here's what I would say. Let's say, for example, you joined a club. I'm going to call you free. You joined a club, and that club was loved space, loved talking about space, loved having meetings where they discussed space and space travel and history of space. They could call themselves, maybe they want to call themselves like speculative astronauts, who knows? In the same way, when Masons who didn't want to practice with stone started joining lodges, they had to call themselves something, and speculative just made sense. In the same way, you might speculate about space by becoming creating a group that was dedicated to kind of space travel and studying it. Speculative Masonry is kind of the same thing. How do you get in? And this kind of ties into Dirt Dollar's question above, which I still see. What exactly do they do during their initial meetings? My husband was invited. So if your husband was invited, Dirt Dollar, I would question that. Freemasons have I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is Freemasons have kind of a very general rule about not recruiting or not inviting. Rather, the hope and the expectation is interested parties will seek them out and ask questions, kind of the way Free did about can I join. So if he was invited, I mean, now don't get me wrong, it does happen, especially if your husband has friends who are themselves Freemasons and enjoy your husband's company. They may mention it to him and say, this is something we do. I've done that where I've had friends, and because I love Freemasonry, I talk about it a lot, and then I say, if you want to come to the lodge and meet some guys, you're more than welcome, or we have open houses. But if he was, for example, getting an email or a message saying, you're invited to join the Masons, those are oftentimes can be scams, or scams, I should say. Oh, he's a local Mason. Okay. So, it's not necessary, Uncle. It's like cough. You don't have to, I mean, you can philosophize with a library card. You can philosophize by learning about stuff on YouTube, right? It's not necessary. The example I would use for that is, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Dangerous Minds. And Free, I still see your comments. I'll get to you in just 1 second, I promise. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Dangerous Minds, but I love that movie with Michelle Pfeiffer. At one point, she's talking to the students, and she says to the students, we're going to learn poetry. One of the students says, "Why do I need to learn poetry?" Teacher responds, "Well, it'll teach you how to think." And the student says, "I know how to think already." The teacher says, "You know how to run too, but if you train, you could run faster," right? Now, it didn't have to be poetry. There are a million ways to things that you can learn and focus your energies on. But poetry is one way, right? Joining Freemasonry is another way that you can, engage in philosophy combined with engaging in brotherhood, ritual, supporting one another, trying to make the world a better place. But there's a million ways to do it. It's kind of what speaks to you and what you find of interest and what you want to be part of. Some people prefer to philosophize in groups, as well as, the charitable aspect of it, the historical aspect of it. Some people may really enjoy just spending time on their own reading Kant or whatever, and that's fine too. So it's not necessary. It's just something that people may find enjoyable. Um, so, when you say, I'm a Christian, to be a Freemason, you need to believe in a supreme being. What that supreme being is completely up to you. So, certainly as a Christian, you'd be welcome to join. We have many Christian members. I'd say the majority are Christian. Some, of different denominations, of all the denominations, including Catholic. The Catholic Church may not like Freemasonry, but Freemasons have no issue with welcoming Catholics, as well as any other denomination of Christian. But we also, welcome men of the Muslim faith, the Jewish faith. We have Indigenous or First Nations members, even some Wiccan. You need that belief in a supreme being. But I do want to go back to dirt, dollar, sunshine. So if he was invited by a Mason, it might just be the fact that your husband has a friend who's a Mason, and based on that, thinks your husband would make a good Mason and invite him to tour the lodge. When you ask what goes on in your first meeting, as part of the initiation process or the application process, there should be what's called a investigation committee, which sounds creepy, but really it's not. It's just three Masons who will come. Usually it's three, can be more, who will come and speak to your husband about Freemasonry, about kind of what he can expect. And also, oftentimes, they will try to make contact with family members as well, not to, to both talk to them and also they can ask any questions they may have concerns about, right? So they may ask questions about, like, what can he expect? What is it? What's it like? What is Freemasonry? As being on a few of those investigation committees, it's really not a matter of us investigating the applicant. Rather, it's not really that. It's more the investigation is the other way. It's giving the applicant a chance to talk to three Masons about what to expect and any questions or concerns he may have. They may ask him questions like, "Do you believe in a supreme being?" To make sure he checks that box. They may talk to him about, any costs associated with joining, because there's usually dues and initiation fee, and if he's okay with that. But mostly it's a chance for him and hopefully his family to ask him any questions, to ask them any questions. So it's a chance, and that's so when you're asking like what can be expected. Really, it's the investigation committee that's the best place to ask. Um, so, I mean, some Masonic lodges, it depends where you're located. Here in Ontario, where I live, there is no requirement to do a background check or criminal record check. In other jurisdictions, there is, and other lodges may. So, if you're in Texas, to my knowledge, when you join, you have to submit a background check, or at least they ask you if you have a criminal record. But in Ontario, they don't. So it just depends. In Illinois, they don't, but some lodges do. Um, um, so annual dues asks free. I don't understand that. You can keep your things. Of course, you can keep your things. You can keep whatever you want to keep. Annual, yeah. So every lodge has annual dues. Those, I mean, maybe some don't, but I've never heard of one. Those dues go to things like primarily the biggest expense, honestly, is paying for the building, usually where they meet. Because usually they will have a space where they meet. It'll either be a rented space from like a private landlord, or they'll own their own building in which case dues will go to cover the cost of running that building, whether it be the bills, electricity, or otherwise, as well as refreshments, because lodges are expected to serve food to the membership, either before or after, and any other miscellaneous expenses that may develop. There's apron expenses, things like that. For myself personally, I can say I'm a member of 5 lodges, and my dues for each lodge range between 100 to 200 US. So actually, the cheapest is $70 US approximately. The most expensive is about 175 US. So it just depends on the lodge, the type of building in which they meet, how big it is, the type of refreshments they're accustomed to, etc., etc. Thank you everybody for joining. I do hope you will hit the like and subscribe button. I hope I'm answering your questions well. Uncle, how do they determine if you believe in a supreme being? It really, again, depends on where you're joining and how strict they are. And when I joined, they just asked me, do you believe in a supreme being? I said yes. They said that was sufficient. They didn't even ask me for the type. There are some lodges I know where they're more questioning and they ask, okay, what is the supreme being you believe? You have to be able to say you believe in a supreme being. You believe the supreme being has made his will known to man. That can be through a book, or that can be through other means. That can be through spiritual means aside from a book. And you have to believe that the supreme being, in some way, shape, or form, favors virtue. This is in Ontario specifically I'm speaking of. That doesn't mean, bad things don't happen or there's not injustice in the world. But if you can say yes to those 3 things in Ontario, then that's your next step. And that is sufficient for supreme being. And then, we have obligations we take as Freemasons, but we take those on holy books that are member specific. So, for example, I've seen a Quran used, I've seen a Torah used, I've seen an eagle feather used for First Nations. The example would be if you were to go to court and you have to swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Here in Canada, anyways, in courthouses, you can take that obligation on a Bible, on a Quran, on any holy book that you so desire. So Freemasonry is kind of the same when it comes to the supreme being. It's a personal thing. I hope that answered your question, Dirt Dollar. I hope that answered your questions as well. I hope I'm answering your questions successfully. Let me know if I'm not. I have no idea if Elvis died. I don't know if Elvis was a Freemason or not, but even if he was, I don't think we know how he passed away or have any special knowledge of it. I'm very sorry. Dennis, welcome, Dennis. It's good to see you again. Mark, I'm not sure what 5-head means, but I do hope you will hit the like and subscribe button. That would make me very happy. Hey, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Daniel Barry, welcome. Thank you for being here. I hope you hit the like and subscribe button. I also hope you guys will consider supporting me on Patreon, patreon.com/square and compass. I have a special discount happening right now. You get 10% off with the code 23D69. We also have free options. DC has so many cool Masonic things free. So many cool Masonic things. The George Washington Masonic Monument is there, a Masonic Memorial. It is. And so if you're ever interested, what they always say is to be one, ask one. So what you do is you go and you ask you don't even ask to join, just ask for more information. Smokey the Clown, scroll up just a little bit, please. Did you ask something that I missed? If you did, I'm very sorry. I'll see if I can find it. So are you saying you've got tattoos for ICP and you don't know what to do? I mean, you can cover up your tattoos if you found out. I mean, I don't know anything about ICP, but you can just cover up your tattoos if you so desire. I mean, I've got a ton of tattoos, all about, like I got a ton, but you can see these here, and every year I add to it more and more, but, I'm sure if you wanted to, you could, cover up your tattoos or get new stuff added to them. You are welcome free, and Washington, D.C., I've never visited there, and I'm ashamed to say it because I hear it's beautiful. And then, sorry, Smokey. I mean, many people get tattoos regarding celebrities. and then find out something they don't like about the celebrity, and then have to, figure out what to do. But really, I mean, I don't know if there's anything you can do. And honestly, I've never heard anything negative about ICP. So like, I don't know. I think you're morally in the clear because, you didn't know, and then maybe, yeah, there you go. Nobody cares about tattoos in the lodge if it's yeah, nobody cares about tattoos in the lodge. I've got a ton of tattoos. Nobody cares. Well, Free, I got to be honest with you. I'm not a fan of Trump at all, but good for you. I will say, Free, one thing to keep in mind, and this is also true for anybody who was watching this and considering joining or want to talk more about it. Like Dirt Dollar as husband. In Masonic lodges, that's not here, we can talk about anything we want, but in a Masonic lodge that's open, one of the requirements is there's no discussion of politics or religion while in lodge, while in like a tiled lodge. So, you know, I couldn't get up in lodge, even in the States, and while it's meeting and say like, hooray Trump or hooray Biden or hooray whomever. Um, right? There's no discussion of it. That's not to say Masons don't have political disagreements after lodge during refreshments or online or whatever it is, but in lodge, when the gavel comes down and the meeting starts, there's no discussions as it relates um, to politics or religions. Dirt Dollar, I agree, there shouldn't be. Treat it like Thanksgiving. Treat it like because they're your brothers after all, right? So treat it like Thanksgiving. There's no need to bring those things up. It's just going to cause problems. But welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. As always, as I always say, please take a moment, hit the like, subscribe button, consider following me on Patreon, share the stream, ask any questions you have about Freemasonry, positive, negative, neutral thoughts. I'd love to hear them. Or honestly, it's 1 a.m. I'm just shooting the breeze. So if there's anything else you want to talk about, heck, why not? I'll see if I can't talk. My other loves are scary movies and professional wrestling. So there's that. But Dirt Dollar, I'm not sure if you've been maybe searching for more information about Freemasonry. But yeah, I hope I can answer. Good question. Well, there's two kind of WWE is great. There are two kind of reasons for that for what attracted me to the lodge, which I'll get to. Smoky depends on the metal, depends on which metal it is. I prefer I love 80s hair metal. I love like Van Halen. I love Poison. I don't like the really, really hard stuff. So I'd always assumed I would join Freemasonry because my dad was a Freemason, as were my grandfathers. That's not necessary. You don't need to have family members to join, but I did, and so that's what initially attracted me to it, seeing what Freemasonry meant to my dad and my family, and what it could do for the community, and that's what initially attracted me to the lodge. And then when I joined, I always say I like the sound of it, and I'll talk about what I mean by the sound of it in just 1 second. Carly, I'm very sorry you're having a panic attack. I hope maybe being here can help somehow. For what it's worth, when I have any type of panic, one thing I find that helps a lot is box breathing, they call it, which is you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, and you hold for 4 seconds. I have no idea, Carly, if that's going to help at all. But I do hope that helps. You can try Dennis's approach, and I hope you find someone to talk to. Doctor, maybe you need to call a crisis hotline of some sort, or just stick around here with me. I wasn't having a panic attack, but I couldn't sleep, so hence I jumped onto stream. Um, going back to Free's question, when you ask So what initially attracted me was the family connection and seeing what it had done and learning more about it. From there, I, so my favorite song in the world is not Metallica, but I do love Metallica, Smokey. But my favorite song is Simple Man by Leonard Skinner. My second favorite song is Prodigal by Blacktop Mojo. But taking Simple Man by Skinner, I can listen to the song, Smokey the Clown can listen to the song, Dennis can listen to it, Carly West can listen to it, and we'll all have different reactions to it. Even though we're hearing the same thing, it's filtering through our own experiences, our own personalities, what's happening in our lives when we hear it. And as a consequence of that, we have different views on it. In the same way, I've been to a million initiations, a million people joining Freemasonry. Some people love it. Some people don't really care for it one way or the other. Some people don't like it. And that's fine in any circumstance, right? At the end of the day, to a certain point, all you can do is jump in. It's kind of like saying to somebody, like, what do you think of this song before they hear it? Like, you can't know, right? And I do think with Freemasonry, you don't want to ask a lot of questions. You don't want to get to know the guys, but at a certain point, you just have to, play the song and decide whether you love it or don't love it, or in this case, join and just figure it out from there. Like for me, I joined and I just really liked a lot of things about it. I like the fact it's open to men of all faiths. I like the fact there's the women's groups. I like the fact that it allows you to help brothers in need and creates connections. And so I just fell in love with it. Not everybody will, and that's okay. How long have I been apart? I joined in 2007, so 20 years, which is crazy. Um, Freebird's a great song. I also love Simple Man, Simple Man is my favorite. I also love Freebird. So those are great songs. I really like the Shinedown version of Simple Man as well. I think it's a great cover. I think when you're looking at some of the greatest covers, Simple Man by Shinedown has to be up there. By the way, Carly, I hope that maybe you're doing a little bit better with your panic attack. Um, I hope you're still there and maybe you want to jump in the chat and just let me know if you're okay. Tuesday's Gone is a great song. Tuesday's Gone reminds me a little bit of Mr. Tambourine Man by Bob Dylan in the sense that it's the type of song that the best time to listen to it is at 4 in the morning after a really wonderful night at a party or whatever it is, and you kind of are walking home afterwards and you're kind of seeing the world wake up. And there's something about Tuesday's Gone or Hey Mr. Tambourine Man. It does. It feels like coming home. It feels like coming home after a really good time, particularly, right? So it's a wonderful song. It's a beautiful song. And yeah, I haven't heard Tuesday's Gone in forever. Metallica did a great cover of it, by the way, on a side note. So if you haven't heard it, I would suggest you check it out. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. It's wonderful to have so many people joining me at, 1 a.m. Looks like there's a lot of people who can't sleep unless it's an earlier, different time zones. Disturbed Sounds of Silence is a great cover. Could you imagine what it must have been like for, whomever it was to, like, the audience members to actually, like, be there and hear it live for the first time? I can only imagine how incredible it was. Cash's cover of Hurt is also great. I agree. That's a wonderful song. Um, Johnny Cash's cover of Hurt is pretty incredible. There's a lot of really great songs out there. I mean, there's some really cool Masonic musicians in the world. Uh, Brad Paisley is probably the most famous of them all. On a side note, every time Brad Paisley comes to Windsor to perform at the casino, I always hope he'll join. I always hope he'll come to one of the meetings one day, but so far no luck. But like Duke Ellington, Nat King Cole, um, Mozart, Louis Armstrong was a Freemason. I mean, sure, Smokey. What's the cover? Let me know, and I'll see if I can check it out at some point. Like, do you mean you as in like you perform it yourself? Did you put it up on YouTube? Or do you mean you just know of one? But I'll always take advice. I love music. You know, Ben Franklin, was it Ben Franklin? I think it was, who, he was a Freemason, by the way, but he said, beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. For me personally, I wouldn't say beer is proof. I would rather say music is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. Especially since I don't drink, so I don't have that. Instead, I'll say music is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. Yes, that is a great cover. I know that cover. I had a friend who loved Bad Wolves, and loved that cover. Dirt Dollar. So there you go. Absolutely. Um, it sounds like we have another music fan in the audience, which is great to see. And thank you all once again for joining. Okay, so you don't drink. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm in a wheelchair, so if I was, to try to start drinking, all I would do is, run over people's toes because I can barely control my wheelchair sober. I'm always crashing into walls. I don't even want to think about how bad it would be if I tried it while intoxicated. Apparently you can if it's a motorized wheelchair. I've heard different stories about that. Mine's manual. Eh, I used to smoke. I don't know if you're talking about cigarettes or the devil's lettuce, but I used to be a smoker, off and on, but I haven't smoked for a few years now. And it's never something I did a lot of. It was always the type of thing I would do. Like honestly, Freemasonry probably took a lot of hours off my or days off my life because I'd usually smoke after a lodge meeting when everybody else was smoking. Because a lot of Masons smoke, so I'd go hang out and have a cigarette with them. Good for you. You should. I hope that you do. Um, lay down the cigarettes. I wish you best of luck in that. I know it can be tough. So, everybody wants to take a moment to leave some hearts for Z. Wishing you the best of luck in laying down the cigarettes. As a brother, as a Mason, I want you to be around for a long time. Um, Isaac Newton said, with the lack of all other evidence, the thumb alone will convince me of God's existence. Well, in fairness, Isaac Newton didn't know about natural selection, I suppose, but Isaac Newton, very smart man, and there's lots of pictures of Isaac Newton with the compasses, which obviously is a well-known Masonic symbol. So there's a lot of debates as to whether Newton was a Mason. Certainly, Newton had a ton of connections with Freemasonry and a ton of connections with Freemasons. He knew a lot of them. So there's a question there as to whether or not he himself was a Freemason. Wow, that is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. It's one of those things where I mean, not kids weren't listening, like elementary school kids were not listening to Bob Dylan, but he was. It's one of those things where I'm sure if you could go back in time, you'd want to get his autograph or something. I'm sorry. That absolutely sucks, Smokey. So, I'm sure you're in a lot of pain. I can only imagine what that would be like. So I hope that I hope that you're able to manage it, however it is. I will be back on tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see you there. Thank you so much, Z. Um, well, Dennis, when you say Darwin is a lie, I don't, everybody gets to believe their own things, but I don't agree with that. I personally am a proponent of natural selection. Um, I mean, you saw him, you saw Dylan a few times. I'm assuming when you say you saw Dylan, you mean you saw Dylan in concert, which is incredible. Joe Mad, welcome, Joe Mad. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you'll be so kind as to hit the like and subscribe button. When you say can talk about the royal colonial bloodlines, I mean, I have heard some people, I'm not saying this is you, Joe, by the way, but I have heard some people argue that Freemasonry, every Freemason or every celebrity, politician, famous person is a Mason somehow or all connected through Freemasonry. I'm not sure if that's what you mean. But let me know. I'm happy to talk with you about Freemasonry and about how that is not the case, that every celebrity is a Freemason. And I wish every celebrity was a Freemason, but that's unfortunately not the case. But I guess I don't know what the royal colonial bloodlines are, so please let me know. Dennis, well, yeah, I mean, natural selection is a mechanism by which evolution takes place. There could be, I mean, science is always evolving, pun not intended. So maybe there's another way we'll learn of evolution working, but you know, Carly West is back, but Carly West has left crying emojis. Carly, I am really sorry again that you went through those panic attacks. I hope maybe you'll try the breathing, or I hope maybe you'll call somebody. If you feel like you need to talk to somebody, I'm sure there's a crisis line that you can call to kind of help you get through whatever it is you're going through. If you're having a panic attack, Joe Mad. There are different orders, yes, but they share the same bloodline. It's more than just secret societies. It goes deeper. Cheers. I'm not sure what you mean by goes deeper. I mean, I am a Freemason, and I definitely don't share. Oh, geez, I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that. I definitely don't think I share the bloodline with, all the other members of my lodge or anything. I guess I'm not quite sure what is meant by that. But having said that, it is still wonderful to have you in the chat. I do appreciate it. I hope you'll let me know maybe a little bit more about what you say. If you say cheers, brother, I don't know if you're a Mason yourself. As I said, I'm a Freemason, been one since 2005. And I'm very, you know, it was a homeless veteran. I took 10 cents out of the store and a car backfired and he had a flashback and jumped on me. I mean, I'm sorry you went through that. I'm also, very sorry for, I know, I'm sure, I'm not sure how you feel about it, but I would say I do feel very sorry for the homeless veteran as well. The fact that he was homeless, the fact that he had those flashbacks and PTSD, that really does just suck for everybody. I'm glad you're alive. I can only imagine how close of a call it was, being stabbed 30 times, and I just hope that, yeah, you said above you're working on it every day, and I guess I hope you just keep working on it, and we're all, at least, I am rooting for you. You're here on the chat, so I consider you a friend, and I'm absolutely rooting for you to keep stepping, to keep going, man. No, not amazing respect. Thank you for the sub. I truly appreciate it, and thank you for being here. I truly appreciate that as well. If you have any questions, again, I'm sorry I don't know anything more about the royal bloodlines, but if you do have any questions about my Masonic experiences and journey so far, I truly appreciate it. He's related to Mozart. Who? Seeger? I mean, they're all, or Pete Seeger. I mean, they're all musicians, so maybe you mean related in more the general sense as opposed to the specific sense of bloodline relations. Who knows? But Mozart was himself a Freemason, so that's cool. Thank you, everybody who's joined me so late. It's funny, I just had a last minute idea of why don't I jump on and see what's going on, and it turns out a lot of people showed up. So, Carly, if you're still there, jump in the chat and just let me know how you're doing. Maybe tell me where you're from. I can find a crisis line if you need to call it. Well, I mean, he probably needs to be in custody, to be honest. Um, so, I used to work in a jail, and it sucks to say, but sometimes for a person's mental health, as well as to protect them, just a person's health, as well as to protect them from society or to protect society from them and to protect other people from them, sometimes you need it. And certainly, you also have to, whatever circumstances in life he has to take some responsibility for his actions as well and needs to be kept safe. And so, yeah, so just a crummy situation. I don't wish him any ill will, but I do think maybe it's necessary that he be in custody. Um, oh, maybe I'm related to Mozart. Who knows? Isn't there that expression where they say like everybody is related to everybody else if you go back far enough? So yeah, but so maybe not jail, but maybe mental asylum or not the term asylum, but like a home or a mental hospital, which he probably needs to be in. So there are levels, dirt dollar, kind of levels. When you join Freemasonry, you're at what's called an entered apprentice. Then you get your second degree, which is called your fellowcraft degree, and then you get your third degree, which is called your master mason's degree. And then once you're master mason, you can become an officer in the lodge, and different officers have different responsibilities. Some are 6 degrees of separation. Some are responsible for things like, funny joke for Diddy as well. Some are responsible for things like, some offices are responsible for things like refreshments, some for the greeting of visitors, some for different administrative tasks like secretarial work. And there's levels to that as well, where, you know, you start off as a steward, which is kind of the lowest officer level. And in there, you're responsible for cleaning the lodge, basically setting up the lodge. You kind of do a lot of grunt work up through to worshipful master, which is where the highest level in the lodge, and that's where you're running thank you, Smokey, I appreciate that. That's where you are running the lodge meetings themselves and making sure they run appropriately and making sure the lodge is functioning appropriately. So there are levels, and it's progressive in that you're always learning something new to advance to the next stage, including as an officer. But after that, after you get your third degree in your Master Mason, you then can become and join what are called appendant bodies, Scottish Rite or York Rite or the Shrine. In Scottish Rite, for example, there are 33 degrees. So you go from your fourth degree to, you can go up to 33. But a lot of people don't understand what that means. A lot of people will hear that and they'll assume if you're a 32nd degree or 33rd degree Mason, what that means is you are higher up than like the third degree Mason. And that's not actually what it means. The example I always give is, I went to law school. Um, After law school, we all graduated. We're all lawyers. That's equivalent to getting like your third degree, you know? Um, we're all equal. Some of my brothers then decided to go into, some of my classmates decided to go into real estate law. And they then had to join professional organizations and societies and take continuing education courses about real estate. Others went into criminal law, same thing. They joined criminal associations, criminal lawyer associations. Thank you, Smokey. Truly do appreciate it. Others joined, corporate, and they joined corporate firms. But you never say like the corporate lawyer is more of a lawyer than the real estate lawyer, right? Rather, they just chose different specialties. So for Freemasonry, the third degree you're Master Mason, that's what matters. At that point, you're as much a Mason as you can possibly be. Pecking order of offices, you become a worshipful master. That's the highest you can advance in your lodge. Then you can join a Scottish Rite, a York Rite. You can move up in degrees, but you wouldn't be considered more of a Mason. Like a 32nd degree, I'm 18th degree Scottish Rite. I couldn't go to a lodge and say like I am a higher pecking order than a third degree Master Mason, right? Because it's a Masonic lodge, third degree is what matters. When I get my third degree, I could say I'm higher up in the pecking order in some ways than a second degree or first degree, but that's I hope that made sense. And the reason that you do it that way is so you're always learning the best way to operate a lodge, what is Freemasonry. By learning all of those things, it helps you become a better Mason in preparation. Vinny DeRosa, what's your favorite racial slur? Hit the like and subscribe button and I'll tell you. How about that? So it really depends on a lot of different factors. Part of it depends on the dedication of the Mason. And I don't even mean that as like a negative way or like a slur. Like there are some Masons who they join and like, they join on a Monday and then like a month later, maybe their wife was pregnant, their wife has a kid. Now they they have some other things to focus on. So it takes them a little while to advance because they have to memorize some ritual. It's basically almost like a test they have to perform. They have to memorize some work usually. Or they just don't have the time to make it to lodge to do the degree because they have to, whatever it is. Maybe they got a promotion at work. Who knows? Maybe they had to move away. So part of it is just the dedication and the time a Mason has. Part of it is the lodge itself and how busy the lodge is. If the lodge has, 15 applicants who are all joining at the same time, the lodge is going to be very busy doing a degree to get them all through. Somebody may have to wait a little bit longer to advance. Like for me, it took about 9 months for me to go from my entered apprentice degree to getting my master mason degree, which I feel like is about average. It's usually, I'd say, between 4 months and a year to get your master mason degree. And then to become the worshipful master, it's not, there's no quota. It's more just how much, because so to be initiated, passed and raised, there are rituals. And the rituals, I mean, all I can say about them, right? And this is, you can honestly find them online, but the rituals are um, a way for Masons to form bonds of brotherhood by going through the same thing. At no point in any ritual, because there's conspiracy theorists out there, at no point in any ritual did I ever feel, threatened or concerned. There was no obligations that I felt were, interfered with my ability to work or family or citizenship or anything like that, or my religion or religion in general. Um, so to all the conspiracy theorists out there who say that stuff, at least for me, who's been through a million of them and watched a million of them, never seen anything like that. But anyways, it's not about the quote, it's just the effort it takes. So if you're going through a degree, there's different speaking parts. The expectation is, you will memorize your speaking part to perform it. You're not going to read it because it shows the candidate or the person going up that, it's a special thing, too special to just bother kind of reading. But it takes time and effort for the lodge to put it on because you have to make sure you need at least, most cases, you need at least 10 to 15 people to do it. To do the different parts, you need the officers. So, if the membership of the lodge, they also have their own lives, they're busy, um, with work or whatever it is. So they may, it just, if you have 15 guys who want to join, practically speaking, you can really only do 2 or 3 guys at a time in terms of your initiation ceremony. It might take a few months just to get all those guys to join. And then you have to get them their second degree, then you have to get them their third degree, you have to get the guys coming back out. If that makes any sense, it's not a quota. The quota is just dependent on how busy the lodge members are. Um, but yeah, so you do that. So it took me about, like I said, 8 months to move from the entered apprentice degree to the master mason degree. And then it took me about 8 years to become a worshipful master. I did go a little bit slower in some cases because I was in school and traveling for work as well. So I did not jump into the chairs as quickly as others. But again, that is just it's there's no set time. It just depends on the mason. I will say also, Dirt, a lot of Grand lodges are the governing body for masonry in the jurisdiction. So I live in Ontario, Canada. So my Grand Lodge is the Grand Lodge of Canada, the province of Ontario. Um, but in Texas, there's a Grand Lodge of Texas. In Washington State, there's a Grand Lodge of Washington State. It just depends where you're at. Um, I am not still practicing law, so because I assume based on your name, Free Diddy, that you need a lawyer. I cannot help you. I'm not a lawyer. Best of luck in your legal troubles. Or if you're looking for a lawyer form, I'm SOL. But what was I saying? A lot of Grand Lodges now are really encouraging taking a longer process from the application stage to, I know, yes, obviously, from the application stage to the, or even from the interest stage to the initiation, right? There was, I do look like Matt Damon. Thank you, Tyler. Please hit the like and subscribe button. I like to think I'm good. What was I trying to say? Back when I joined in 2007, it was incredibly common for like man shows up at lodge, says he wants to join Freemasonry. On the spot, he's given an application. He signs it. He sends. That's funny, born identical. He sends it in um, to the lodge. The lodge votes on him. They do their investigative committee, and 2 months later, he's a member. Um, there's a really much more of an effort to, when somebody first expresses an interest in joining or approaches a Masonic lodge, there's much more of an effort to take more time to get to know that person better and also let that person get to know the lodge better, invite him out to social functions, dinners, coffee, invite the family out for the same thing so everybody gets to know everybody else. And, even some lodges are suggesting a year between application and between that first approach and the actual initiation, right? A year to spend the time going through, getting to know the lodge, then doing your application, then the committee, then the votes, and then all that other stuff, right? Because you need to vote on new applicants to join. Good Bill Hunting. If you think I look like Matt Damon, which he's a handsome fella, so I wouldn't complain. I personally think I'm a pretty ugly dude myself, but hit that, give me that 100 if you think I look like Matt Damon. And if you guys would be so kind, Jack, Tyler, hit the like and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. To Dirt Dollar, I hope I answered your questions well. I hope what I said made sense. Let me know if it didn't, or if it did. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'll still do my best to try to answer them. Honestly, it's funny. I'm not a huge horror movie, or sorry, I'm not a huge action fan, so I never got into the Bourne movies. For me, it was always, I always enjoyed scary movies. Actually, I have a personal YouTube channel where one thing I talk about and will do is, midnight movie watch-alongs on the weekend, where we will watch a horror movie together, on like usually something on Tubi or something. But welcome everybody. The reason I'm doing this stream, amongst other things, is because I currently have a Patreon deal going on. If you want to join my Patreon, support the channel, patreon.com/square and compass, discount code 23D69, or you can join as a free member. But if you want to support me that way, I truly appreciate it, because sadly, I'm not Matt Damon. I don't have his money, so I need to rely on Patreon for support. Trying to think of one for I've never seen The Departed, so sadly I cannot help you. If I could, I would for sure, though, I promise. I get Mark Wahlberg a lot too. Actually, let me do that as a poll question. Let's see. Who do I look like? Matt Damon. I'm going to spell this wrong. Mark. If I get this spell wrong, I'm very sorry. Mark Wahlberg. Neither. All right, here's the question. Who do I look like? That's the question I'm asking you guys. A grown-up Bobby Hill. So, well, I did used to watch King of the Hill, so I'll take it. I also like the fact that Bobby Hill liked to eat like I do. Um, I mean, I guess I do have to. I heard it's like a crime movie. Damn it, Bobby. And I've never been a big fan of crime movies. So I don't know, but I'll check it out. I mean, like I said, for me, it's horror. I just saw Smile 2, and I actually enjoyed Smile 2 a lot. So, that might be my movie recommendation. Um, on a that's okay. I do look like a grown-up Bobby. You know, on a other note, if you like me love scary movies and want a movie that talks about Freemasonry, From Hell, starring Johnny Depp. By the way, Dirt Dollar, just because the movie is from hell and it stars Johnny Depp, don't let that, make you scared about your husband joining Freemasonry. I know the title of the movie, but it's fine. It's just a movie. It's a great movie. Has Freemasons in it. That doesn't mean you have to worry that, we're Jack the Ripper. Though maybe we are Jack the Ripper. Who knows? Welcome. Thank you, everybody, for joining. 2 votes, Matt Damon. Thank you for nobody saying I'm worse looking than them. I truly appreciate it. Though, if somebody wanted to say neither you are better looking, I would totally appreciate that as well. Dirt Dollar, good. I'm glad. And check out From Hell. It's on Disney Plus if you have that streaming service. House of a Thousand. I have seen it. Rob Zombie. I will definitely catch some strays or some heat for this opinion in horror movie circles, if anybody is that. But I genuinely think Rob Zombie's Halloween Part 2 from 2009 is the second best movie in the Halloween franchise. I love that movie. I think it's wonderful. And anybody who disagrees with me is incorrect. Halloween Part 2, both of Rob Zombie's Halloweens, both the OG, the 2006 Halloween and the 2009 Halloween 2 are awesome movies. Completely underrated, completely underappreciated. You know, the anybody in the horror community who doesn't recognize that is crazy. But welcome. Thank you, everybody who's here. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope you will take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button if you're just jumping on. I mean, I can say buffalo chicken, I can say buffalo wrap, but if I say buffalo wrap, then you should also hit the like and subscribe button. I do something for you, buffalo chicken wrap. You gotta, return the favor. Um, like, oh, like the Harbinger, which I don't. Thank you. 1 vote. Neither you're better looking. Thank you. I don't know if you ever saw Cabin in the Woods, where they joked that every scary movie needs a harbinger, some old creepy dude who's like a hillbilly at a gas station who warns, everybody not to go to the cabin in the woods or whatever it is. Favorite all-time horror movie. This is going to sound funny because it was raining today. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. So what I say that is my 2 favorite movies of all time, not just horror movies, not just nightmare movies, but my 2 favorite movies of all time are Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Dream Master, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Dream Child. And because I love both of those movies so much and really kind of equally, I cheat. And when it's a rainy day outside, I say my favorite um, movie is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. And when it's a sunny and bright day, I say my favorite movie is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 because the aesthetics of those movies kind of fit those weather patterns. Pet Cemetery was incredible. I agree. Buffalo Chicken Wrap. It does have Thor in it, and that's a great movie as well. And I thought that Thor was great in Cabin in the Woods. I mean, Puppet Master, I really like the Puppet Masters. They are kind of nostalgic for me because they have that. I especially loved the sequels. I really like Puppet Master 4 and Puppet Master 5. I think they're awesome. And one thing I love about them is they have that like early 90s kind of aesthetic to them. I'm a sucker for the early 90s straight to video horror films. Because it's one of those things where it kind of was like you had this period between, I'd say period between the release of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 in 89 and the release of Scream in 96, where there was this kind of deluge of these really fun, campy, direct to video at the time horror movies. The Puppet Masters, The Children's of the Corn, the Prom Nights, and I love all those. I think they were all great, and I'm very nostalgic for those. I like the post Scream era too. Cube is wonderful. Cube is great. I love the Cube movies. I think why I would call Dirt, I would call Cube a horror movie. I think it is. I think you can count it as one. Cube 2, questionable. Cube 3, also questionable. Best slasher. Well, so again, I if you want to call Nightmare 4 and Nightmare 5 slashers, then I'd say Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. But I don't know if I'd count those quite as slashers. I would probably say Halloween. You just got to go with the classic, or maybe Friday the 13th Part 6. Jason Lives. I like Saw. I like Saw 2 the best of all the horror movies. All the Saw movies. I think Saw 2 is incredible. I genuinely think that's one of the best. Like, it's such a good movie. I love that movie. I love the lesson of it. I love the fact that the kid, spoilers, the kid was fine all along, and all the cop had to do was just sit there and talk to him. Um, I did not see Rampage or heard of it with. I have not heard of Rampage. I've heard of the one with Rocky, with The Rock, I should say, not the one without. I'll check it out. Is it streaming anywhere that I might be able to find it? Saw, they are. I mean, honestly, they got more and more graphic as time went on. The original Saw was honestly not that graphic. It was all more implied, but they got more graphic. Oh, I don't want to do that. I would ruin it. I don't want to disrespect Freddy Krueger. He's too iconic. He's too legendary. Have I seen Witch? Buffalo. I have seen Witch. The one with Anna Taylor, I think Anna Taylor-Joy, I think is her name. Um, I liked it. It wasn't my favorite, but I enjoyed it. Hostel. Sorry, no, I don't think I have. I'm not sure what that one is referring to. Um, I was not a fan of Hostel. I think that went too far in the route of gore for me, and I'm never. I mean, I respect. Vivitch. I'll see if I can find it. Buffalo. But I've never heard of it. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. Um, pronounce it with two V. Vivitch. They did. It was great, by the way, Dirt Dollar. I loved the newest. I really, really loved the newest Final Destination. I thought it was incredible. Justin Mason, welcome, Justin. You have a good name for this chat because we usually talk about Freemasonry, but I'm just shooting the poop right now. I loved the substance. I took the substance as being about substance abuse. Since I used to work in a jail and I used to be a probation officer, so I saw a lot of that. I really saw a lot of parallels between what the substance was talking about and substance abuse. And that's what I took it as, right? The younger, more attractive version of Demi Moore or whatever, not that Demi Moore is not beautiful now. It was equivalent to what drugs do to somebody, where the drugs just want you to keep taking them without any concern at all for what it's doing to you or what it's turning you into. Um, so, okay. Welcome, Jason. Sorry, Justin, just give me one sec. Friday the 13th is a great movie, but for me, it's Friday the 13th Part 6, so followed by Friday the 13th Part 3. Justin Mason, I'm sorry that you got blackballed. That sucks. Different jurisdictions have different rules surrounding criminal record checks and whether you can join or not. Here in Ontario, there is no criminal record check. Lodges can ask if you have felonies and can, request it individually, but it's not required. Others, thank you, Justin. Other jurisdictions, it's a requirement before you join. They have to request a criminal record check. Other jurisdictions, it's up to the lodge. My view on it has always been, and this is what I believe, I think every lodge, when you have an applicant, should request a criminal record check. I also think they should request a medical and credit check, but I don't believe anything that they find should be automatically disqualifying. So I believe if they do a criminal record check and they find out somebody has a criminal record of any kind, that should not automatically disqualify anybody. Rather, they should talk to them about what happened, how they're doing, if they've learned from their mistakes, if they're working hard to get better, all that type of stuff. I think that is absolutely critical, and that's how I think it should be. So, but having said that, Virginia has a different rule, and that is perfectly, um, at the end of the day, people have different rules and jurisdictions have different rules. So, and that's okay. So it does suck that you got blackballed. But having said that, I hope that your substance abuse issues, I hope you're going to counseling. I hope you're working on yourself. And it takes a lot of guts to share that. So good for you for sharing that. And I wish you nothing but the best. And maybe one day that rule will change and you can reapply. Or you'll move somewhere and they'll be in a jurisdiction where it's not an automatic refusal. Because again, sometimes it's an automatic. Sometimes the rules just say, I think it's the same thing in Texas where there's certain rules and it says if you have a felony, it's an automatic disqualification. So, but keep up the good work, Justin, and you should be proud of yourself. 20 years is very impressive. No, Friday 8 is great. Friday, Jason Goes to Manhattan. That's an awesome movie. So Buffalo Chicken, this will catch me strays in the horror movie section. Um, um, I personally love. Oh no, that was Jason Goes to Hell. That was part 9, the final Friday. I love that one too. I will defend when it comes to the franchises. Certainly the big three, Nightmare, Friday, Halloween, but really Hellraiser, Child's Play, Children of the Corn. I will absolutely defend all of those, even the ones that usually get the bad rap. Like, I love Halloween Part 5. Natural Born Killers is great. Actually, that was so-so for me. I wasn't a huge fan of the style of it. But Halloween Part 5 is awesome. Rob Zombie's Halloween, I love. Halloween Resurrection, I think, is great. Um, when it comes to Friday Part 5, I think, is great. Jason Goes to Hell is great. When it comes to Nightmare on Elm Street, I'll defend the remake. As we already know, I love Part 5. So, um, really, Dirt, the only one. See, a lot of people, it's the opposite. That's one of the ones that they don't like. I loved it. So I'm with you. I loved both Rob Zombies. I loved the 2006 Rob Zombie Halloween, and I loved the 2009 Rob Zombie Halloween 2 remake. I thought they were both incredible. And Halloween 2 is great. I actually have a idea for a movie that would combine all of the Halloween timelines into one movie, and I think it would be incredible. I just got to find somebody who can write it for me because I don't know how to write movies to save my life. I agree, Dirt Dollar. Nightmare 2, it is, and it's a good movie. Um, what's the one movie where the girl is being chased down by three? I have no idea. I mean, there's been a ton of those kind of movies where, there's a girl being chased. Um, Sometimes those movies can turn into like, you know, R&R movies, like the I Spit on Your Grave style of movie, which not a big fan of those myself. 10,000 Maniacs, yeah, it's okay. again, my favorite of those, the Rob Zombie movies, are the Halloweens, right? 10,000 Maniacs. That's not a Rob Zombie. That's what is 10,000 Maniacs again? That was Robert Englund was in that, right? If I'm thinking of the right one. I do appreciate the fact we got 5 votes. Who do I look like? Matt Damon is at 60%, so 3 votes, but two, neither you are better looking. So I do appreciate that very much. Hopefully we'll get some more people jumping on the chat and they'll say neither I'm better looking. Yeah, I mean, and there's also a book called oh my God, Women and Chainsaws, I think. Woman Chainsaws and it was a book. I think it was called Women and Chainsaws. It was a book about like the final girl trope in horror movies, and they touched on I Spit on Your Grave and those kind. They kind of touched on that as an idea. I understand that logic. I just find just a bit too much for me. Those movies. I do kind of like the feeling of impending dread that those movies kind of create and start with. The problem is once you get to the actual like there's only so far you can go before you just go too far, if that makes sense. Like I'm trying to think of the way to so for example, I just watched Smile 2, um and um there was this great part, by the way. WNB, still hit the like and subscribe button. There was this part where spoiler alerts, I guess, in Smile 2, the main character's in her apartment. She's, running around her apartment, and then she stops, and there's a whole bunch of people just staring at her and smiling at her creepily. Um, and that was really scary, obviously, because it's a jump scare. And then they just keep staring at her. Every time she would look away and look back, they'd get closer to her. And when she tried to run to her door, they'd be in front of her door. And it was like this building sense of dread and dread and dread. But then eventually, the smiling people all just attacked her and, grabbed her. And then it was almost like a letdown because it's like, well, now, my imagination, it was always going to be worse than what I'm actually seeing. So it's yeah. And so for example, I Spit in Your Grave, there's that creepy, it's getting creepier and creepier, and those guys are getting more and more creepy, more and more scary. But then sooner or later, once they actually have to commit the assault or whatever it is, then it's just like you just feel kind of, to me, I just felt kind of gross at the end of it. Like, I don't know. So I've never been a big fan of the I Spit on Your Graves. Having said that, I found out that the director of this remake of I Spit in Your Grave also directs Hallmark Christmas movies, which is my favorite type of movie. So, or second favorite type. Favorite is scary movie. Second favorite is Hallmark Christmas movies. So who knows? Justin Mason, thank you for being here. And once again, nothing but respect for you. 20 years sober. I truly, it's nothing but respect for the work it takes to do that. WNB, I mean, honestly, that's almost a compliment because I love Pinhead. I love the Hellraisers. I think Hellraiser might be the most underrated and most underappreciated horror movie franchise. So, but his name wasn't Pinhead. His name wasn't Pinhead. His name was the Priest. Just for the record. No worries, Dirt Dollar. Find the name. I will put it on my list for sure. By the way, I think the best of the Hellraisers is Deader, which was a direct-to-video Hellraiser, but a really good one. Never seen the movie Embers. Whenever I hear the word Embers, I think of it. I don't know if it's in the movie, but in the book, one of the characters writes a poem about a girl he likes who has red hair, and he says, what does he say? He says, "Your hair is like fire, January embers, it burns in my heart." Or my heart burns in it. So I always like that poem. Whenever I hear the word embers, that's what comes to mind. Zippy, I don't know what this book is to which you refer, but the fact that you know it's the Priest, nothing but credit for that. Let me know. Answer the poll question. Who do I look like? It sounds like based on what you're going to say I'm worse looking, which is fine. Maybe I'm worse looking. Lighthouse? Never seen it. Never seen it, but I'm interested in watching it. I'm interested in watching it for sure. I've heard it's pretty good. Watch The Twilight Zone Season 2, Episode 29. I've like the most... Thank you, Buffalo. I like to think I look... My mom always said I looked amazing, right? So if she thought I looked great, who am I to disagree with my beautiful, wonderful mom? Twilight Zone Season 2, Episode 29. There's a gooning scene. I don't know what that means. Thank you, WNB. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. I do these streams. Normally I do these streams 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I got kind of bored. I couldn't sleep. So I jumped on. I talk about Freemasonry usually, but then we just kind of shoot the poop as well and talk about whatever we want to. All right, we're at 50%. I look like Matt Damon, and 50% I look better than Matt Damon. I want to, maybe I can't have Matt Damon's money, but maybe I can get Matt Damon's looks or better looks than him. Yes, obsolete man. I mean, I'm assuming it's assault of a sort I can't mention on YouTube without getting like annoyingly shadow banned or whatever it is that YouTube does. I am 41 years old. Powerpuff, I mean, I know, believe me, I'm cursed with this face, but I still hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button. If I look funny, at least I can get a lot of subscribers, and that will help. Thank you, Buffalo Chicken. This has been a very good stream for my self-esteem. Look at that. Now I'm ahead. I'm ahead of it, of Matt Damon. So, suck it, Matt Damon. Degeneration X, take that. Oh, okay. Well, then I don't really want to see The Lighthouse because I'm not that interested based on, not that Matt Damon or William Dafoe aren't handsome fellas, but I don't need to see them self-pleasuring. Is that what you think? That I'm attractive or that I'm good looking? Yes, I choose to believe it. I love MILFS. Well, X hamster, I know what that is. I feel like, I know what you're doing there. I'm 41 as well. There you go. 41 is a great age. Well, you got to have a positive attitude, Powerpuff. Like, give 100 for positive attitude. Because you kind of need it, right? So, I choose to believe I am. I choose to believe I am a good-looking fellow. Christy Isley is on the stream, says hello. I hope that you are doing well. Please take a moment, Kirsty, to hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe, I don't know who Ben... Oh, no. You tried, WNB. I almost did it, but no. Not falling for that. I have no idea what a federal citizen is. I'm a citizen, I'm a Canadian, and I'm proud to be a Canadian. I often say, though, Canada is the Greatest country in the world because we have the greatest neighbors in the world. I love the States as well. Whoa, out of nowhere, catching shade in the poll. Who do I look like? Matt Damon at 38%, Mark Wahlberg 0%. Neither You Are Worse Looking now has 12%. Neither You Are Better Looking has 50%. Um, by the way, I do hope everybody watching this, if you would be so kind as to hit that like and subscribe button, I would truly appreciate it. Let me know how it's going. Check me out on Patreon as well. Even I love MLIFs. Thank you, Buffalo Chicken Wrap. I say it a lot because people come in and out of the stream, and if they're joining for a couple minutes, I want to try to get that plug in there before they leave. So I say it a lot. I'm sure many of you watching have subbed. I truly appreciate it, but I like to keep mentioning it, especially when I see a brief spike in viewership. I don't know about that. I think Canada's doing pretty great. I actually love Canada. I actually did a thing reacting to the speech from the throne, which I thought was pretty decent, and how we as Freemasons should care about what's happening economically and politically in our community in the lodge. I mean, I like to think everybody loves me, you know? I like to believe everybody loves me, Powerpuff. You can show, your love by hitting that subscribe button. That's how I gauge how well loved I am. It's by those who hit the like and subscribe button. Well, you gotta leave an ad for the person you're okay. Thank you, Dennis. I will take it. I will take okay. Welcome, by the way, to everybody who's joining. I hope everybody's having a great night. This has been fun. I jumped on this stream just for fun, just to see if anybody was up, couldn't sleep like me, and had a pretty good turnout. Got a lot of subscribers. It's been awesome. So thank you, everybody. This is kind of an emergency stream in some ways because I have a Patreon discount at the moment that expires on June 1st. So I wanted to take a moment to jump on and make that announcement to remind people that it's closing in 2 days. And then from there, we just kind of kept chatting. Look up what a buffalo wrap looks like. I mean, I know what a buffalo wrap looks like. They're good. They are, they're absolutely delicious. I love buffalo wraps. So it's like a New York thing, right? Thank you, Dirt Dollar. I appreciate that very much. And you seem like a very nice person as well. So it's kind of interesting being on stream. You get to meet people, from all over the place, which I love. And honestly, 90% of the time, I find that everybody you meet is super cool and super nice, which, is a nice way to, it's a nice way to reaffirm your faith in humanity. I've never been anywhere in Paris. I'm very sad about that. I wish that I got to visit Paris at some point. Visiting Masonic lodges in France, in Europe, is 100% on my list of places I want to visit. So, I've been to England a few times because my pops is from England, but sadly never made it to France. Nope. Nope, WNB. I see what you're doing there. I'm not gonna fall for that. You tried twice, WNB, and you failed both times. You got to keep trying. Not like Paris, like a town named Paris. Well, there are a bunch of towns named Paris. Which Paris are you from? Um, you know, um, like there's a Paris, Ontario. Or are you saying the Buffalo Wrap came from Paris, like Paris, New York? I always thought it came from Buffalo, New York. I feel like Buffalo Chicken Wrap, I kind of missed something somewhere. There is a Paris, Ohio. No, that's where it came from, really? I had no idea. Cool. I'm learning new stuff every day. That's the other fun thing about these chats is sometimes you end up learning new stuff, not even about Freemasonry. Okay, Buffalo Chicken. So you are from Missouri. Powerpuff, hello. I see a Powerpuff. Hello to you as well. I hope you're doing well. I sadly have never been to Missouri. I would love to visit a Masonic lodge in Missouri, though. I think it would be awesome. Um, I'd love to just meet some Masonic brothers from Missouri. I think that'd be really awesome too. Sorry, Powerpuff, I missed your question. Can you ask it again? Unless there are a lot of. Um... Oh, I see it. Hello, half hawk, half man. Say that 5 times fast. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you can. I would truly appreciate it. Thank you for being here. No scroll up. Very demanding is Powerpuff. Have I heard of Skeeter? I don't think so. Um, I'm trying to think. That sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't think of why. Oh, he's a YouTuber. Okay. Um, it looks like he's doing pretty well. He's got 2.1 million followers. So I should check out what he's doing and see if I can do the same thing. Massachusetts is where the chicken wrap originated, and the buffalo sauce comes from Buffalo. There you go. Dirt Dollar. Thank you so much for being here. I truly, truly appreciate it. It's wonderful to have you. Thank you. I'll be back on tomorrow if you want to join. Hawk, geez, I get half hawk, half man. I'm just going to call you half if that's okay. You are 100% correct. There's some Masonic principles that encourage that as well. Ultimately, it is about, your richness is not determined by how much you have, but how little you want, right? So you're 100% correct. Roaming Outlaw. I like that name a lot. That is a great name. Roaming Outlaw, you kind of look like white Eli Wallach. I don't know who that is, but I'll take it. I'm assuming he is a very, very handsome fellow. I 100% assume this Eli Wallach is as handsome as they come, so I will take it. But welcome, Roaming Outlaw. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're doing well. I do these streams every Monday through Friday, normally at 1 p.m. Eastern, but today, for fun, because I couldn't sleep, decided to do one at 1 a.m. And in the process of it, talking about Freemasonry. That's what this channel is about. But also just shooting the poop, shooting the shit, basically. So anything you want to talk about or questions you have, please jump in the chat. Let me know what they are. And as always, please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. You can also check me out on Patreon. I always like to mention that. I agree with that. Enmity is not a good thing as much as possible. I think we need to strive for friendliness. I said as somebody who oftentimes has problems with anger and can get angry, and I'm trying to fix that, but certainly online we can be friendlier. Like there's no reason to be mean to people online. I can understand in person you get into fights, debates, whatever it is. If you're meeting somebody online, like you don't know them, give them the benefit of the doubt, Give them the benefit of the doubt. Warm Uganda. I don't know if I've ever had anybody from Uganda on the stream. Welcome, Arc Children Foundation. Thank you so much for being here. Please hit the like and subscribe button, Arc, and let me know if you know of any Freemasons in Uganda, because I've never been there, but I'd love to learn more about Freemasonry in Africa. Ernest Shackleton, I will look up for sure. Nope, WNB, you're not going to get me there either. You can keep trying, but you got to wake up pretty early in the morning to get one over on Cameron Adamson. This handsome devil who's better looking than both Mark Wahlberg and Matt Damon. So half Hawk, half. I will do Control Shift QQ in just 1 second, I promise. All right, well, so apparently that turns off computers. Well, I did that on my laptop, so what did I do to it? Does it just turn off? Well, I've never heard of that before, so I have no idea what I actually did. Did I damage my computer? Oh, we're back. Yeah, I figured it was something. I was curious. So you had me curious. You kept saying it. So I did not know that that's how you turn a computer off. So, well, that's cool. At least I learned something new. Arc. Well, I mean, all I can say is I wish you the best of luck in your mission, um, to to help children. Having said that, I don't think this is the best place to be, giving ads for charity. What I guess I'd say is, you can get in touch with me if you want um, through my email, which is um, contact, and then yeah, square and compass/contact. It's 11:30. It's 1:35 a.m. Yes, it is 1:35 a.m. I am very tired. Actually, I'm not that tired to be honest. It's 2:35 for me, by the way. It's actually 2:35 in the morning, but I'm having fun. I love talking to people. It gives me energy, so I don't mind doing it at all. What happened? Apparently, when you do that, it turns your computer off, which I did not know. Well, UCB is what I'm going to call you. You can hit the like and subscribe button. KP, I do. I mean, I like to look at them. I don't collect them or nothing. So Hawk, so half. I got two. Um, I do not, by the way, Joaquin, think we're in the decline of any empire. I choose to have confidence and be optimistic. I'd be more optimistic if you hit the like and subscribe button. So Hawk, or so half. So first above, you mentioned Freemasonry has been alleged to hold its members back from fully committing themselves to their nation. I don't agree with that. In my experience, Freemasonry, in fact, encourages the being of a good citizen, um, and all of the things that comes with that, and the dedication, and all of the ceremonies and rituals I've seen or taken part in. My responsibilities as a citizen has always been something relevant and important. Um, is it true that Masons believe that there is one God and that people employ many different ways to seek and to express? So, in terms of Freemasons and what they believe in a religious or spiritual sense, to be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being. Whatever that supreme being is up to you. So, we have Freemasons of the Muslim faith, of the Christian faith, and when I say Christian faith, of the many different denominations. So, Freemasons of, Protestant, Anglican, we have Catholic Freemasons, despite what the church says, um, Jewish, First Nations, Indigenous, right? So saying like what do Freemasons believe, it's kind of like asking what do football players believe. Every Mason will have their own spiritual beliefs. Freemasonry is not in and of itself a religion or does not have any religious beliefs of its own. Rather, it's the membership's beliefs. And each going to be different, member to member, right? What I will say is for myself personally, I believe in a supreme being, but I don't believe in any specific religious context. So I don't necessarily believe the Bible has it correct, nor the Quran, nor the Torah, nor Wiccans, nor indigenous persons, but rather I believe that there are different, rather I believe in a supreme being, but I'm not necessarily sure I believe in any particular religious denomination. I also like Masonic swords, by the way, like the Tyler swords. I think those are really cool. Catholic critics of Freemasonry, so they do have that criticism. My my response to that has always been, um, if I were to go to, like, let's say have to go to court, for example, um, and when I go to court, I have to take an obligation to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I may take an obligation on a Bible. I probably would personally. But, you know, other people going there to testify may take their obligation on a Quran, in Canada anyways, on a Quran, on a Torah, on another book, on whatever it might be. And no Catholic would say, well, don't go to the court. They recognize the court is a civil institution. It's a civil institution that has its own rituals, right? You stand when the judge attends. That's the type of ritual. You listen to the judge when the judge bangs the gavel. There's obligations you take before taking the stand. There's an order to things. But, you know, they wouldn't say don't go. And Freemasonry as a civic or civil institution, you have a responsibility to respect the religious beliefs of all your members, or the spiritual beliefs of all your members. Demon time exotics, who cares? I care. I care because I love Freemasonry, right? And you don't have to care. You are welcome to not care at all. That's perfectly fine, but I care. And because I care, I like to talk about it, you know? It's your YOU apostrophe RE, first of all. But second of all, can you let me know what I'm lying about? Because I do not believe I'm lying based on my experiences thus far. I've been a Mason since 2017. Now, I certainly don't know everything about Freemasonry. Um, I don't know what that means, but they let me in, so, you know. Well, I am AF and AM, if that is to what you're referring. So, the immortality of the soul, not so much, at least not in my experiences, but it depends. Um, there may be different jurisdictions. Yeah, I'm AF and AM. Um, so in terms of the adult male, that is true. Although there is also, and I always like to make sure I mention this because I feel like they don't get enough press, there is also Eastern Star, and there is also Order of Women Freemasons, both of which have my respect. There's also youth groups, DMOLA and Order of Rainbow, which are for young men and young women. But to be a Mason, to be an AF and AM, four-letter, as Demon says, you have to be an adult man. Or adult male, you have to believe in the existence of Supreme Being, which is also the case. And different jurisdictions have different additional requirements, such as, for example, you have to, there's certain affiliation fees you have to be able to cover, usually not that expensive. So there might be other things at all, but the biggest two is, you have to be a man, you have to believe in a supreme being. Timu, M. Faison, Timu version of Matt Damon. Jeez Louise, what did I ever do to you? Which, I mean, and so be it, right? Half hawk. They're, conspiracy theories, it just kind of is what it is. I've learned not to take them too seriously. You know, there's not much you can do about it except what I always say, half hawk, is, so I'm a big fan of professional wrestling. And there was once this professional wrestler who said, look, I can't convince you that professional wrestling is real, but I can convince you that I'm real, right? And in the same way, what I always say is I can't convince you that Freemasonry is good, but hopefully I can convince you that I'm good. And at least I'm a good person. Even if at the end of this stream you still view Freemasonry in a negative light, I hope that you will view me as somebody who is a good person, or is at the very least trying my best. I don't always succeed. I actually fail very often, but I try my best. M. Faison, Israel or Palestine? I'm not sure what you mean by that. if you're asking me, what I think about the war in Gaza, which I don't even know if I'd call it a war at this point. And yes, by the way, half hawk, they are prohibited in lodge. You're not allowed to discuss politics or religion while in lodge. You can talk about it outside of lodge, but you can't talk it in lodge. I mean, at this point, it's hard for me to say it's not a genocide what is happening in Palestine. I think it's, if nothing else, it's an incredible tragedy, and it makes me incredibly sad. I don't know how you can call it anything otherwise. Having said that, I am a member of a Masonic lodge in Israel, Holy Land Lodge, and I, love all of my Masonic brothers anywhere in the world, including my Masonic brothers in Israel. And there are no Masonic lodges in Palestine, to my knowledge, but there are Masons there. There are Masons who travel there for aid workers. There are Masons who travel there for different things, and I absolutely love them as well. One thing I always mention, and I think it's important to bring up this story, is in World War II, um, um, when Hitler came to power, Nazi Germany, the Masons of England um, uh, did something called withdrawing recognition with the Masons of Germany. Basically said if you're a Mason in Germany because of the political situation of your country, we're not going to recognize you anymore. And what happened? Hitler turned on the Masons in Germany anyways and put them in concentration camps. Like, there's no benefit in not loving your brothers based on the political situation in their country. It just, and the actions of their country. It just doesn't help anything. So I kept my membership in the Grand Lodge of Israel and Lodge Holy Land. I still love my brothers there. I also love my brothers in Russia. I love my brothers in Ukraine. Um, so, do you think that Israel needs to free Palestine from Hamas? What does it take to create the genocide? What are the parameters? I feel like that's kind of all in the similar vein. I mean, there is an official definition for genocide, which, if I recall correctly, and I could have it wrong, the official definition, to my knowledge, is when you have a government or some type of authority has the desire to um, eliminate a people in whole. Um, it seems like, right? So basically, to say we're going to get rid of all the whatever people, whatever group, right? And it can be, a religious group, it can be an ethnic group, it can be a geographic group, right? Like if America, or for some reason, if America were to say, we want to eliminate everybody who lives in Massachusetts for some reason, that'd be a type of genocide. Massachusetts isn't a specific race, it isn't a specific, religion, but it's a people defined by geography. So that would be a type of genocide. Um, well, maybe I am farting. Who knows? Maybe I am farting. And to me, it's like it's very hard to look at what's happening in Palestine right now and not view it as that, as the desire, or at the very least, an ethnic cleansing, as a desire to basically take an entire group of people and, either have them just gone, as in killed, or create conditions that are so terrible in that location that they have to leave, and then it gets built back up again, and a new group of people come in. M. Faizan, I understand if you support Israel, that's perfectly fine. Um, I mean, again, I support the people of Israel. I think that they are, people are people, and you can't judge a people by the actions of the government. Um, in terms of whether they have the right, as you said, to free Palestine. I mean, I suppose they do, but I'm not sure like what free Palestine from Hamas means. Because honestly, it feels like there's not a Palestine left to free at this point. Like I don't know what that would mean when so much of it is in ruins and just in rubble, which everybody seems to admit, right? Like it's kind of like, if I'm, if somebody comes into my apartment and kind of takes control of it and takes me hostage in my apartment, and then the solution of the government or the police is to blow up my apartment to free me from that situation. Like, it doesn't feel like it's better, you know? So I don't know. Um, I mean, when you say, are you 100% sure? I think I'm not an anti-Semite. I mean, I've got, I know this is kind of a silly thing to use an example, but I've got many Jewish friends, and I'm actually a member of the Masonic Lodge, Lodge Holy Land number 50, out of Israel, Tel Aviv. So I pay money. I guess you could say I pay money to Israel. I guess I pay money to a Masonic lodge there, and I'm very proud to be a member of that lodge. So, I guess you can define me as you want. I guess what I'd say is, at the end of the day, what I am more than anything else is I'm just incredibly saddened by what I see there, and I hope that everybody is okay. Same thing with the Russians, right? When you say the Russians are out of hand, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I actually do agree that Putin is out of hand and he scares me quite a bit. But there are many Masons in Russia and they are my brothers, and I'm not going to allow the actions of a government to cause me to not care about my brothers in Russia. In the same way, there are brothers in Ukraine and the Masons in Israel. Thank you, Half Hawk. I truly appreciate it very much. Um, Pow Pro. I think hopefully we're all on that side, Pow Pro. And thank you for being here, Pow Pro. I hope you hit the like and subscribe button. And I honestly believe um, we do work with an imperfect knowledge of reality. You're 100% correct on that. Um, well, the Buffalo Army, I say we take them on. Am I part of the Buffalo Army? Can I be part of the Buffalo Army? I will say, and I know how this is going to sound like a dream or completely impractical. I do truly believe that the answer to some of these problems lies not exclusively in Freemasonry, but in Freemasonry as well as civic culture. But I think the idea of being able to look at other people as brothers, civic engagement, loving one's country, loving one's neighbor, um, not judging people based on religious belief, not allowing religion or politics to interfere with relationships. I think that really does matter and is important. And that's why I love Freemasonry. I think Freemasonry has the tools to build a better world. I've said it before. To me, the fundamental belief of Freemasonry, in my opinion, is that the world can be made better through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. And I think the world needs more of that. Sweet. I am part of the Buffalo Army. I am the right-hand man. Take that, everybody. I join a stream for fun, and next thing I know, I'm part of an army. And not just an army, but a genuine army. I'll take that. Thank you, Half Hawk. I try to be real. I don't know if I always succeed or not, but I try. All you can do is try your best, you know? Wow, this poll is getting pretty close. Who do I look like? Matt Damon, 33%. Mark Wahlberg, 0%. Neither you are worse looking at 28%. Neither you are better looking. So I'm still in the lead. Neither you are better looking is still in the lead, but I am worse looking is catching up, and that's not good. Um, M. Faizan, Israel has the right to defend itself. Bibi is my hero. I mean, fair enough, M. Faizan. Like I said, everybody kind of gets their opinions and gets their ideas. Sorry, bro. I remember a few years ago, whenever you knew that Ukraine, as of, are actually. I mean, I'm sure there are Nazis in Ukraine. There are Nazis in Canada. There are Nazis in everywhere. Unfortunately, I don't think that should necessarily mean you turn a blind eye to, foreign invasions. I do believe, actually, John Dexter, I don't believe in ghosts per se, but I do believe that ghost hunts and ghost investigations provide opportunities for Masonic temples to have ghost tours, ghost hunts, and revenue streams. I promise you, Buffalo, I'm not nearly as perfect as you think, but I do truly appreciate that nonetheless. John Dexter, welcome to the stream. Thank you for being here. I hope you will be kind and hit the like and subscribe button. But even if not, I just am very happy that you're here. Thank you so much. Let me know if you have any questions about Freemasonry. There are a lot of Masonic lodges over the last few years that have been engaging in ghost hunts and ghost tours in order to, bring people into the building. Johnstown Masonic Temple has been doing an incredible job with that. So it's been awesome to see. Thank you, though, everybody who's joined so far. And also, as I've been mentioning a few times, I have my Patreon. So if you want to support me on Patreon, you get access to some what I'm trying to think of what the word now is, special offers, 10% discount, all that good stuff. You can do so. Let me just grab the information once again. You can join for free, Buffalo. You can join my Patreon for free, and that is perfectly fine, and I would love that as well. So certainly there's no reason you don't have to pay for it at all. Honestly, the best ways you can to support the channel are all free. Liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, following on social media. Let me just see if I can't. Although also right now there's a deal where if you join one of the things, even at the $3 American a month or $2.70, you get your first 7 days for free. So you can always try doing that as well. Or just join for free. Certainly if you can't afford it, don't do it. Right? I don't want anybody doing something foolish like going to credit card debt or something foolish like that. Do what you can afford. But you can definitely afford becoming a free member. Always win. Look like both in some ways. LOL. Good day to you as well. I hope that you are still always winning. I hope that you will hit the like button and the, answer my poll question. With a username like that, how can he not be always winning? A good way that I can always win is by hitting the like and subscribe button. See what I did there? And by going to Patreon, patreon.com/squareandcompass and signing up for that. That's good. It's good to be bound by truth. Having said that, though, Dennis, I would say you do want to be kind of careful sometimes, because it's very easy to believe you found the truth, and then once you decide that, it can be very hard to recognize that maybe, you don't have the truth and change your mind. I always try to keep, to a certain extent, a level of humility about the idea of what is the truth. And I always try to remember that I don't necessarily know everything, and that's okay, right? Well, I mean, I think nobody has a problem. I think it's wonderful to have everybody here, and it's been a great stream. It's been a lot of fun. I've been really enjoying it. But I'll always win. Let me know if you are still winning, if you are in fact always winning. And I'm going to share this stream on a couple spots just to see if maybe we can get some more people joining. But maybe I'll end this stream. It's 3 a.m. right now, which has been a blast, don't get me wrong. But maybe I'll do the stream for another 10, 15 minutes. Unless we get a whole new batch of people coming through. I mean, I think everybody kind of has their own ways of finding God and finding the truth. So if you believe in God and you pray, I'm sure At least I hope. I guess I'm sure he hears you, and I hope that that your prayers are answered, I guess is what I would say, right? Good always win. I am glad that you are I'm glad that you are always winning, right? Having a positive attitude, that helps. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Buffalo. That your Nana I passed away. My Nana passed away too. I mean, my mom's mom, my maternal grandmother was called Nana, or I called her Nana. That wasn't her real name, obviously, but I called her Nana. And my dad's mom, my paternal grandmother was called Grandma Lily. So she passed away. Yeah, my Nana passed away in, oh my gosh, 2009. So I was, yeah, it sucks losing your grandparents, your grandmothers, right? You love them. So yeah, I'm very sorry about that, but it happens. It's part of life, and my grandmother had Alzheimer's. So by the end of it, it was very tough to see. So in some ways, I was relieved she wasn't suffering anymore. Um, and it's very hard, right? So I am very sorry, but I'm sure she hears your prayers. All right, thank you to everybody who has joined so far. I truly appreciate it. I hope everybody watching will hit that like and subscribe button if you get the chance. Let me know how it's going. Let's give another 10 minutes. Let's just see if anybody else jumps in. It has been a wonderful stream, though. And like I said, I'll definitely do another stream tomorrow. Good, good. I'm glad that happened to always win. I'm glad you connected with and are supporting your local lodge. That's a really important thing to do. Those connections matter. Those supports matter, right? That's absolutely critical to a successful Masonic experience and to the success of our Masonic bodies. So nothing but it's wonderful to hear that. Thank you so much for saying that, and good for you. You should be proud. The work you're doing and that support and that communication and that connection is going to help your lodge as much as anything else. So keep up the good work. Do you mind if I ask what the initial contact was like? How much did you enjoy it? I do not play Elden Ring. I don't really do a lot of gaming, to be honest. I have a PS3 and I play like Dead Space on that. I enjoy playing that a lot, but you know. Well, what is Elden Ring? I've heard of that. I think like Lex Friedman loves to play that, right? What's it about? Good. That's awesome. I'm sure the lodge appreciated it a lot. I'm sure the fundraiser was the food good? What type of food was it? Was it like a cookie sale, bake sale? But that's awesome to hear. And thank you for sharing. It's about fighting bosses and getting stronger with cool weapons and powers. Wasn't that the whole Elon Musk debacle where he was playing like a video game, but he wasn't him playing it? And they said like, "Oh my gosh, always win. You're making me jealous." Um, I love catfish. That sounds incredible. Now I'm hungry. Way to go, always win. I hope you're happy. You've made me hungry. I'm looking up Elden Ring now. Dennis, I agree with you actually 100% on that. I don't even know if I'd call it prayer so much, but when I try to think about like, I try more and more to have a spirit of gratefulness for what I have, as opposed to thinking about what I want or asking for things. I find a approach of praising and being thankful for what you have as opposed to desiring what you want, that's a better way to go. And Freemasonry actually talks about that a little bit. So, internet, there we go, I'm back. Internet, thank you for praying for me and thank you for praying that for me. I appreciate it. I hope I get them too, I guess. So, I appreciate it. Internet consumer, I hope you will please hit the like and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. I'm looking it up right now. I can't really share screen because I'm doing this via my mobile device and sharing the screen is hard. But um, Elden Ring is a 2022 action role-playing game developed from software and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment, directed by Hidetake Miyazaki. Elden Ring is presented through a third-person perspective with players freely roaming its open world. Cool. He's a Greek. You gotta have a 5K. Wow. That's crazy. Like, I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounds like a ton of money. I can't imagine spending that much on like a CPU or GPU. Does that mean general processing unit? Or when you say you gotta have 5K, does that mean like a $5,000 or does that mean like 5,000 bits of RAM or something? Whew, that's crazy. That's awesome though. Whenever I see somebody say he's a freak, I always think of James Brown. That was the guy, right? 19 votes. We're one vote away from 20 votes on this poll question. If you haven't voted yet, please do so. Let's get up to 20. And thank you everybody who has joined so far. It's been a really, really fun stream. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. So I'll stick around. Maybe one day, because I have a Twitch stream. Maybe one day I'll have to look into or a Twitch account. I rarely stream on it. Maybe one day I'll have to look. Super Freak, Rick James, that's who I was thinking of. I was driving me crazy. Maybe one day I'll have to do a Twitch stream. Maybe I'll play Elden Rings. Who knows? Or Elden. Um, where is it now? Yeah, Elden Ring. Is it Elden Rings or Elden Ring? But I'll have to look at it. I don't know if you have Twitch, Buffalo, or you watch stuff on Twitch. But yeah, like I said, it's not something I'm really not Elden Ring. I'm really not any good at video games, but I enjoy them sometimes. I could play Red Dead Redemption 2. I could do that online. Again, I have to look into it because I don't have any like I just stream from my mobile phone mostly, so I have no like equipment set up for gaming. I don't know what you need. I don't even have one of those fancy gaming chairs. I just have my wheelchair, which is an awesome chair, by the way. But I don't have like a fancy pants gaming chair, so or Dark Solos. See, I don't know what any of these games are. Mostly my favorite video game series of all time is Dead Space. Probably Dead Space 2 is my favorite, although I like them all. I enjoy a lot Assassin's Creed because it deals a lot with Freemasonry, and so I enjoy that very much. Um, Dark Souls, okay. Also, there's a few other games like there was Fear. There's a lot of those type of games that I really enjoyed. So, okay. I will maybe see if I can find it. I will have to look into. I don't even know, like I said, I don't even know the setups for how to do that stuff, like what you need. I know there are a lot of people who've made like a ton of money by streaming video games online. So, not just a ton of money per se, but just a ton of like views. And so maybe it's a good idea to try it, get more views, and then from there, I'm able to bring in more, people to this YouTube channel. I will check it out for sure. That is 100% on my list of things to check out. So, um, there's a bunch I'll have to check out, but Elden Rings, I will definitely check out all that stuff though, I promise. So it's like a sad video game? Let's see what it's all about. What Remains of Edith Finch? First-person exploration video game developed by Giant Sparrow and published by Annapurna Interactive. See, this is interesting because it seems like it's not even like an action or scary. It looks like the story. It does seem really cool, but I'll have to get like a PS5, it looks like, because I still have a PS3. So I'm old school like that. But being old school is okay. See, my PC, I don't think my PC has the capacity to necessarily play some of these games because I think they take some major pretty major CPU capacity. I'm able to stream and stuff, like I'm able to do this, but to play any of these games, I think you need much better CPU than I have. One thing I always think about when I think about video games is way back in the day. This would have been 2004 or 2005. So what feels like well, what was decades ago, what feels like lifetimes ago, I moved to Ottawa. I lived in Winnipeg, Manitoba growing up. I moved to Ottawa, Ontario, and I had this, and I miss it, and I loved it. I had this tiny television that was black and white, and it was what you would take with you camping. So if you're going camping, you take this little TV that was black and white. The screen was like this big. I will check it out for sure, Buffalo. I'll watch it on YouTube. But the screen was this big. It was black and white, and it had an antenna. And you put the antenna up, and you would like turn this knob, and it would, um, you'd find different TV stations through the antenna. This was the old school days. So you'd pick up like whatever stations were close, but it also had the audio visual ports in the back, the red, green, and yellow, or the red, whatever the colors are. And so what you could do is you could attach a DVD player to it, or you could attach like a video game system to it, and it would show whatever it would show it on the little black and white screen, again, this big. And I remember, I moved to Ottawa, I was alone, getting to know people. I went to this video game store, and this was still when you could rent video game systems. So I rented PlayStation, and I rented Resident Evil 4. I remember I set it up, and the whole night in my rented room on Bank Street in Ottawa, I played this game until like 7 in the morning, and then I went to my job. And I remember it was just one of those really fun kind of, even though I was by myself, it was just a really fun night. I was free to be alone. I was free. I was away from home. I had this job I was going to. I had this little TV that I loved. I miss that little TV. I miss all the times I had, setting up my DVD player in it, renting a movie. People don't even know what that means anymore, but renting a movie and renting a DVD and watching it on this little TV. There's something very like, I don't know, like something, it was kind of like a freedom to having it, what it represented. I really liked Resident Evil 1. I've played most of the Resident Evils and I've enjoyed them. I remember I loved the books, the novelizations of Resident Evil. I still have them. They were great novels, really underappreciated novels, I thought. By S.D. Perry was the author. So I liked all the Resident Evils that I've played. One is probably my favorite. I enjoyed two a lot. Oh, 20 votes. We made it up to 20 votes. By the way, if everybody watching this could please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you're just joining. I would truly appreciate it. Yes, so you got to play the better looking ones. You got to play the remakes. I was stuck playing the OGs with the not as good technology. Although I will say there is something kind of nostalgic to me about the way those old video games looked. Something kind of there's something very nostalgic to me about video games, the old models. I remember when I lived in Ottawa in 2008, I rented this apartment from these students because I was there over the summer. And so these students were moving away. I needed to rent this apartment. So I lived in this room. And I'm convinced I was living with somebody else that I never met because I rented this room in this place. I was told there was somebody else who's going to be living there as well. I never met them, never saw anybody else, not once. But every now and then I'd come home and something would be moved around or something would be missing from the fridge. And I have no idea, none, who was moving stuff around or if anybody else lived with me. It was the weirdest roommate, non-roommate ghost I ever had, but I'm convinced somebody else was there. Maybe I am Buffalo. Who knows? It was the strangest thing. But I remember the students, because they were coming back, they just went home for the summer while I had this internship. They left their video game system there. It was a like Nintendo of some sort, and they left their video games. And I remember I'd come home and I played NWO versus WCW like almost every night when I would get home. Even if I went out with some friends to a bar after work, after that I'd go home at like 1 in the morning and I was still young enough I could do this. I would, stay up all night playing it must have been NES 64 playing NWO versus WCW. So even that, I have these very fond memories of these video game systems and kind of what it represented. It represented a time in my life of a lot of freedom. It felt like you just moved away, you're going to school, you don't have any real financial responsibilities except covering your rent. You're hanging out with your friends every night. You're going to work and then going out with your friends. It was just a very fun, fun, nostalgic time that I do kind of miss, not to start tearing up. And we know, Buffalo, that if they did make a movie about me, either it would probably be Matt Damon or somebody better looking than Matt Damon to play me. Although we do have the one Mark Wahlberg vote in there. So that's kind of cool that Mark Wahlberg made it on the board with one vote, 1 out of 20. Thank you so much, everybody who is joining. Please take a moment. If you are just coming in the chat and you're new or coming into the stream, to jump in the chat and say hello. I do these streams every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I was saying, I'm here talking about anything really, but the purpose of this channel is to explore the many ways in which Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located and to post stories of Masonic interest. So you can check out my videos of my past interviews. As always, the best way you can support this channel are all free. Liking, subscribing, commenting on videos, sharing videos, all that stuff helps hugely. So I'm hoping you guys can possibly, do that. And let's hang out for another, let's say 15 minutes. That'll be a 2.5 hour stream. And maybe then we'll call it. Whenever I think about crying, like not think I'm going to cry, but rather just think about crying, The one thing I always think of is Dane Cook. I don't know if you ever saw Buffalo. You said you're a bit younger than me, so you may not have seen it, but Dane Cook has some absolutely amazing, has amazing bit about crying. It's very funny. Look up Dane Cook crying. Il Denoak. Hello to you. Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. I'm just doing a live stream because I couldn't sleep. This channel, we talk about Freemasonry, which is my favorite thing to talk about in the world. But you know, we also just hang out and shoot the poop, as they say, shoot the shit. I couldn't sleep, so I figured I'd come online and do a live stream. So if you can hit the like and subscribe button, I would truly, truly appreciate it. What is Freemasonry? I'll be back in just 1 second. Just got to plug this in. Freemasonry. Oh, there we go. I'm back. Freemasonry is an umbrella term for organizations that evolved from stonemason guilds in Europe. Otherwise, it's, known as like a fraternity or a civic or social group. And it's something that I love very much. So you have different social groups and civic groups. You have the Elks, the Moose. Freemasonry is one of those, but it's the oldest. It has the most history. And again, it was evolved from the stonemason guilds in Europe. What do you guys do? There's a lot of different answers that I could give to that. At its core, Freemasonry, its purpose is the same as the purpose of any fraternal group or civics group. It is to create bonds of friendship through shared experiences, right? But a lot of what we do is, we have our business meetings, we pay bills, we do accounts, we support brothers who may be ill, who may be sick. I do not vape. Their families, we have scholarships. I always say the belief that Freemasonry at its core is that the world can be made better through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. Francis, I will never support, I appreciate you being here, Francis, but I will never support kind of calls for violence. I'm not a fan of Trump in any way, shape, or form, nor of MAGA. I think ultimately it is a very toxic thing, but we have to also respect kind of the process. Definitely not pro-Trump. Definitely not pro-Trump. But again, I have to respect the process, right? I'm Canadian, but I have to respect the American process and have optimism that things will work out. So it's an organization. It is not a um, it is not a cult because Freemasonry does not require, nor should you put it above, make it the thing in your life that is above, for example, your family, your work, your deity. It does not require, unyielding or unquestioning devotion for anything like that. Well, Francis Wick, what I will say is, by taking part in things like Freemasonry, I am, I nor anybody else is not sitting idly by, but rather is making the world better or fighting to make the world better through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth, which is what I think the world needs. And I think the way to combat Trump, for example, is to try to bring more love into the world and more brotherly love. Can anyone be a Freemason? So kind of short answer, yes, but longer answer is, there are things, there are requirements. You have to be a Freemason, and I'm going to use my lodge, for example. To be a Freemason, you need to be, of a certain age. Normally, that's 18 or over. In Canada, it's 21 often. You need to believe in a supreme being. The nature of that supreme being is up to you. It could be that you're Christian, you could be Muslim, you could be Jewish, you could be First Nations, Indigenous. You could not have any religious affiliation, but you have to believe in a supreme being of some sort and just you're spiritual. You have to like the Buffalo Chicken Wrap Army, of course, that goes without saying. And then to join the fraternal side of the organization, you have to be a man. But there is also, and I always like to shout out and give credit to the Order of Women Freemasons and Eastern Star, which are Masonic groups for women. So for those groups, especially the Order of Women Freemasons, you have to be a woman, but of the right age, 18 and up or 21 and up, and believe in a supreme being. Then if you're a youth, there are youth groups for men and women if you want to get involved in Masonry as a young person. Order of Rainbow or Demole. Honk, honk. Um, yeah, I mean, I kind of think so. Buffalo Chicken Wrap, yeah, there is no atheism in the strictest sense. However, most people, when, tend to believe in some sort of supreme being, and the definition is broad enough that you'd have to be very kind of stubborn to just say absolutely not, no supreme being of any type. Usually and oftentimes, in many cases, Masonic lodges are able to, you know, find a belief that would be sufficient. So when I become, well, it takes a bit of time. Um, you first have to express an interest and thank you to Hong Kong. I appreciate that. You have to approach a Masonic lodge, speak to them, explain you're interested. Then there's an application process. You have to fill an application form. Um, you'll meet with two Masons who'll be your sponsors who will try to guide you through some of those questions as what happens, when does it happen. The lodge goes through a process where they would have to vote on you and whether to accept your application or not. If they do, then they would contact you about your initiation. And at that point, you kind of work with your sponsors and with your Masonic guides for the initiation. And from there, you kind of go from there. The process from, first expressing an interest to sending in your application to joining can take, sometimes a couple months, but sometimes up to a year. I've been a Freemason since 2007. So almost 20 years, give or take. Yeah, almost 20 years, which is crazy to think. Dennis, you can be American. You can be 100% standing with Donald Trump. Um, Again, I personally am not a fan, but I hope that, it kind of just is what it is, right? Um, but if you're doing better since Trump came back, then good. I'm glad you're doing better. Um, and I hope that you continue to do better. Awesome, Tyler. My dad and granddad were both Masons as well. My dad, granddad, and great grandfather were also Masons, so that's a cool connection. He was probably a 32nd degree Scottish Rite when you say that. So what happened to initiation? Well, it's a secret. Iled Donak. I'm just going to call you ILL. It's a secret. Now, the reason it's a secret and the reason I choose to keep it a secret is not because it was anything nefarious or anything criminal or blah, 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 like the conspiracy theorists would say. Rather, it's kind of like if I had a family recipe that my great grandfather gave to my father, gave to me, I would not then tell somebody in the public. Um, I would keep it private and keep it to my next family member because that is what I have to pass on to maintain the bonds of brotherhood or maintain the bonds of family between myself and my next generation. In Freemasonry, we don't have we don't have stuff to pass down. What we pass down is our ritual. Um, and so I choose to keep it private because I believe that's the best way to maintain the bonds between us. I mean, sure, we meet up. Being a Freemason, meeting with each other is an incredibly important part of it. When you say do stuff, I mean, it kind of depends on the lodge. There are certain things that you're kind of required to do, just practical matters. Um, you have to, for example, pay your bills. If you have if you own your building or you meet in a rented space, you need to pay the rent. You need to talk about any brothers who might be sick, who might be ill, who might need assistance financially. You talk about, you can do Masonic education. You can do all that stuff. I mean, DMLA is within the youth groups for Masonry. So, and if it didn't speak to you, if it didn't engage you, that's okay. It didn't engage you. There's nothing wrong with that, right? I will say, maybe as you get older, Freemasonry now has some things to offer, and you might find it more appealing. Who knows? But, not everybody's going to find it engaging, and that's okay. Um, well, we do that for sure. We also will host events for the public. We'll do fundraisers for charities and charitable efforts. We will maintain the history of the lodge. We'll support community endeavors. Like a lot of it's going to depend on the nature of the lodge, right? You may have some lodges that are more like research lodges where what they do is they research on the history of Freemasonry. Um, you know, you may have some lodges that focus more on charitable giving. I have watched Family Guy in the past. Um, so I do not believe, Dennis, when you say Canada has made for children. I do not believe that is the case. I can tell you my personal view on at least for adults, I do support MAID. As someone who, my mother, had cancer, and to have seen what she had to go through when there was no, I mean, honestly, I could just be not explaining it well, and which is my fault. So I am very sorry for not being able to explain it to you. It's one of those things where it's almost like trying to explain fish to a water. It's explaining water to a fish. When I'm so in it and I'm so engaged in it, it can be hard for me to step out and try to explain it. The simplest answer is it's a fraternity, right? People create fraternities because they want to find community and fellowship and brotherhood, and fraternities are a good way to do it. Um, and people have been creating these fraternities for centuries. Freemasonry, before that, it was different groups, you know. Yes, they do. They do exist all over the world. Um, and that's one of the beautiful things about it. I can travel. I'm in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I can travel to Texas. I can travel to England. I can travel to France. I can see underpants. Just kidding. I can travel to Morocco and attend a Masonic lodge. It's like being part of a really big family. And there's other ways to be parts of families. You could become a football player and travel to other, and meet other football players, whatever it is, right? But this is one of those ways. Um, I mean, I agree, but I mean, again, it might not be for everyone, right? Like as Tyler said, when he was in the youth group, he didn't find it engaging. So not everyone, it's not for everyone, and that's perfectly okay. But I think it's something that if more people were Masons, the world would be better. It's not equivalent to a church because it's not a religion. It's equivalent to a social club, right? So let's say you really enjoy knitting, you might join a knitting club, right? If you really enjoy kind of being part of a group, but how do I explain it? But a group that is engaged in kind of self-improvement, that is kind of what you may want to consider it as in some ways. Or even if you want to just join a historical society, like you like history, you want to be part of a club that's been around for hundreds of years. Like when you're a kid, you might build a tree house, and that's your clubhouse, and you and your friends hang out together in your clubhouse. You don't do anything. It's just you're part of a club. You want to be part of a club with your friends. Imagine you want to be part of a tree house that's 300 years old. And in the process of doing it, get to help brothers who might be ill. You get to, engage in rituals, which are ways to bond and create shared experiences. Um, do you have any restrictions on this fraternity? I'm not sure what you mean by restrictions. Again, to join, you have to be of a certain age, usually 18 or 21 in Canada. You have to believe in a supreme being. The nature of that supreme being is kind of up to you. And, there are requirements in terms of things like there are annual dues, et cetera, et cetera. So is there anything you are not allowed to do? I mean, again, I'm not sure. Like Freemasonry can't, you can do whatever you want within a lodge, there's certain rules. So, for example, in a lodge, you're not allowed to discuss politics or religion while the lodge is running, right? So, I can't get up and start talking about, who to vote for, anything like that. Within a lodge, you're not really supposed to, oh, people do it all the time. You're not really supposed to bring in cell phones. Um, Things of that nature. Sorry, Buffalo, I don't really know a lot about Christian traditions, so I can't really answer that. Beyond the fact I'm not Christian myself, right? I believe in a supreme being. Um, no, I mean, if you're a Freemason and let's say you commit a criminal offense and you're found guilty of that, you'll probably be kicked out of the fraternity, right? Because as a Mason, you're expected to be a good citizen. You're asked to and expected to maintain the private nature of the rituals, but that's really not an enforceable thing per se. There's plenty of stuff on the internet. Again, the best way I can describe it, and again, I'm not the best at it because I'm so in it, but when you're when you're a kid, you might build a clubhouse and you might call it, Cameron's Clubhouse, and you might invite your friends to be part of this club, and you might create rituals to join the club for fun. And really, that's what Freemasonry is. It's just a very old clubhouse that allows people to belong to something. Leaoaeo. Not sure what that means. So, yeah, so there are rituals, there are Masonic rituals. So we're not summoning energies. Um, System of a Down. I've got to check them out. We're not summoning energies or anything like that. The rituals are so when you join, there's initiation ritual, then there's rituals as you advance to the second degree, the third degree, become a master of the lodge. And the reason those rituals are important to do is as a way to create bonds of friendship and brotherhood. So, for example, you asked above, is Freemasonry global, right? If I travel to Morocco in Africa, let's say, and I meet another Mason, I will know that he has gone through the same thing I've gone through. And I will have a connection to him and I will, have a friendship with him and a brotherhood with him. That's why it's important that we perform these rituals because if we don't, you're not going to have that same level of friendship. That's ultimately what rituals are, right? It's a way to create bonds of friendship through shared experiences. There are other ways to do it, like if you join a band, for example, you know, and you're a guitar player, you may travel somewhere, you meet another guitar player, you immediately feel like you have a shared connection with them because you both have been through the same things, you both learned the same things. Freemasonry is, our ritual is our version of that. It's a way to create those bonds of shared experiences. Funny videos. Hello, welcome. I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button. And thank you so much for being here. Well, so, I mean, you have to be careful with that. We have what are called modes of recognition. That's the famous secret handshakes, which we do have. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but we do have them. Um, and other things. There are other symbols like that. Sometimes Masons will wear like t-shirts, which has the Masonic symbol on it. That's the square and compasses with the G in the middle of it. Um, and we'll have dues cards, which we have, which say like we're a member of such and such a lodge in such and such a location. They're usually every year you get new ones. But you always have to be really careful because plenty of people out there like the square and compass symbol. They think it looks cool. So they'll buy a shirt and put the square and compass symbol on it, or they'll wear a ring with this symbol on it. That just because you see somebody wearing a t-shirt, even a t-shirt that says like, yes, like my channel logo. Even if you see somebody wearing a t-shirt that says like, I'm a Freemason, you can't assume that it's accurate. You still have to ask them questions, ask for the grip. And even if they have all that stuff, that doesn't mean that they're currently a Freemason. They may have left the lodge or not paid their dues or whatever it is. So yeah, I always tell guys like when it comes to identifying a Freemason, you have to be so careful um, in terms of just because they have a logo or whatever it is, that doesn't mean they're Freemason or current. But yes, there are ways to identify yourselves. I agree. Secret handshakes are cool. Secret handshakes are 100% cool. Well, JFK was incorrect, although I will say, since Freemasonry is not a secret society, but a society with secrets, that's okay. JFK wasn't talking about us. So, I mean, almost certainly yes. I suppose it depends on the lodges, right? But in my experience, it's always a yes because lodges have expenses. They have to pay for the space in which they meet. They might own their own building, for example. They have to, cover refreshments because lodges usually have dinners before or after. They have to cover other costs, like they might have to mail. Um, they have this thing called a summons, which is like an update on what's happening in the lodge, like a newsletter that has to get mailed to membership or emailed. So the secretary needs, so there are expenses. I'll tell you this for me, I'm a member of 5 lodges, and with these lodges, I pay between $70 US per year and 200 per year. So it costs me about $500 per year to be a Mason, but that's because I'm a member of 5 lodges. There's usually a one-time initiation fee, um, and a couple $100 up to per year dues. Well, again, what type of truth, right? Because Dennis, I wouldn't ask for, I wouldn't ask for your, if truth is not a secret, then, what is your social security number, right? What is your address? What's your tax return number, right? There are some things that are true, but, it's reasonable to maintain privacy for other reasons, such as the bond of friendship, right? I can't ask somebody to if they want to keep their mom's recipe a secret, I can't ask them for it. They have a right. People have a right to keep things private if they so desire, and that's perfectly okay. Um, as ILL says, the world is full of secrets, and that's okay. I've never viewed secrecy as being inherently not trustworthy, or I never viewed privacy as being inherently not trustworthy. I think that there are reasons to keep things private sometimes, and it's okay. People should have the right to keep things private, if they so desire. So you asked what I do for a living. What I'm trying to do for a living is this: YouTube, social media, Medium, and Patreon. So to help me out with that, what you can do is go to slash square and compass. Hit that like, subscribe button. Go to patreon.com/square and compass. Use code 23D69 to join one of our patron tiers or join for free. That is fine as well. ILL, perfect example. Exactly, right? You're not going to ask for somebody's bank details. Um, Notorious 13, I promise I won't, but Notorious 13, in order for that to be the case, I hope Notorious you will hit the like and subscribe buttons. If you do that, I promise you'll be safe, and you'll be safe even if you don't. But still, um, I hope that you will do so, and I hope people watching this will be so kind as to hit that like and subscribe button. It would truly be appreciated. I agree no one cares about Trump and Francis. While I appreciate you being here, I do have to put you in a timeout because even though I am 100% not a fan of Trump, no violence. Um, Thanks, ILL, we're not talking about politics. And in fact, in a lodge, you're not allowed to talk about politics or religion. And certainly you're not allowed to advocate for violence of any sort. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I truly appreciate it. Please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. I hope everybody is doing well. It's been an absolutely wonderful chat. I got way more people in than I thought. I agree. I think oftentimes it's just because it's talked about so much. I mean, it's just over talked about, right? All the time. And I agree. I mean, I'm not, don't get me wrong, as somebody who has always been pretty political, I guess. But I don't want to talk about it all the time. You know, there's other things in the world. Buffalo, truly grateful that you joined. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful to have you. I hope you have a good night as well. And I do hope, again, if you get the chance before you go to sleep, jump over to Patreon, sign up for free. Don't do anything you can't afford. It'd be wonderful, though, to have you to join. And ILL, I hope I was able to kind of answer your questions better as I went along. If you are from, I think if I recall correctly, you said you were from the UK. If that is the case, there are a lot of Masonic lodges in the United Kingdom that you can absolutely look at contacting. Loving one another, maybe that's weak, who knows? Friendship, kindness, scary movies, Freddy Krueger. Sorry, Buffalo Chicken, yeah, that's you, but ILL, I think ILL, Ildenonak said he was from UK, but I could be wrong. But I remember Buffalo, you're from Missouri. I'm ashamed to say I've never been to Missouri. I would love to go there one day because I hear it's a beautiful spot. Wait, no, I've been to Missouri. I'm lying. I was in St. Louis. I was in St. Louis for like a week, and it was an awesome place. Sorry about that. My apologies to the good folks of St. Louis. It's a beautiful city. I've even been to the Masonic Lodge there. So, never mind. I've been to Missouri, St. Louis. I stayed somewhere else. So a scouser, sorry if that is, offensive term. I did not get shot. I was fine. I stayed with in fairness, I stayed outside of Missouri. I stayed actually in a brother's place in a town south of Missouri. I can't remember the name of it, but it was fine. St. Louis was great. I like St. Louis. Very friendly people. Vin Diesel, the Moon XXL. Are you saying I look like Vin Diesel? Because if that's what I look like, I will take it. He's a handsome fella. And also the Moon XXL, I hope you will be so kind as hit the like and subscribe button. What about kindness? I feel like kindness is real. Buffalo, once again, thank you for everything. I should hope that we could be guided by, amongst other things, kindness, human kindness. I think that's real. I hope that's real. And thank you, everybody who's joined. Well, so yeah, the poll question was, who do I look like? So Matt Damon is at 38%. Mark Wahlberg is at 8%. Neither, you are worse looking, is at 23%. Thank you very much to those 23 percenters. Neither you are better looking is at 31%. So at least I got that. Then thank you. Those are both handsome fellas. So I'll take it. By the way, I'm one like away from 20 likes. So let's see if we can get, just a few more. I know a lot of Muslims. I like Muslims. They're great people. I mean, I don't like every Muslim because I've not met every Muslim, but the ones I've met have always been super kind to me. There are a lot of Muslim Freemasons, which are super kind, super cool dudes as well. So yeah, I'm certainly not going to disparage any faith groups. And yeah, kindness is one of those virtues. Now, obviously, you need to temper kindness with justice. You need you need a little bit of everything, right? You can't just rely exclusively on any one particular virtue, right? Kindness has a place, so does justice, so does a lot of different things. You have to be really careful, but I think there's a lot of value in being kind. I mean, it's okay. Dennis is certainly, Dennis, everybody has the right to their thoughts and opinions, and Dennis is no different. And I do appreciate him being here. I also appreciate ILL being here. But I will say, from a Mason's perspective, it is to be welcoming of any, man, so long as he believes in a supreme being. And again, the beautiful thing about Freemasonry is you'll be in a room and you'll see, a Jewish person and a Muslim person and a Christian all sitting together, and a indigenous person who has First Nations beliefs, and you have all of those, and it's a beautiful thing. Well, that is, the ILL ill. I do agree. It's not even about one person being bad, 20 people being bad doesn't mean everyone is bad. So I agree with that. You want to be very careful that you don't judge, you want to be very careful that you don't ever judge the whole based on the individual. You take people one at a time. Um, Somebody by the name of Chris Hansen's BT jumped in here, and will hide that comment because he clearly does not feel the same way. But welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. It's been a great stream. I had no idea when I jumped on at 1 a.m. I'd actually be going for this long. I figured it'd be a quick one. I was just trying to remind people about my Patreon and take advantage of the Patreon offer. You can always join for free as well if you can't afford to pay for membership, which is perfectly fine. Well, Chris Hansen, if no offense, then what you can do to demonstrate is hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, answer the poll question, and yeah, hit like and subscribe. And that would be very helpful. It's been great to see. I got 21 likes, and a lot of people have joined this stream, which is wonderful to see. And thank you everybody for joining. I truly appreciate it. This is Square and Compass Promotions, where we examine the ways in which Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located, as well as talk about stories of Masonic interest and just talk about Freemasonry. So thank you everybody who's joined so far. It's been a great stream. It's been going really, really well. So if anybody wants to jump on and has anything else they want to talk about, it's been a great stream. I'll give it another 10 minutes. That'll be 3 hours total. And then I need to grab some food because I am starving. When you say built a library, do you mean like a digital library, a physical library? Do you mean um, like an actual library with books? And is it for personal use or is it a community library? Johnny, I mean, I guess what I'd say is I'm happy at least that you're okay and that you were able to breathe again, but hopefully maybe that's a bit of a lesson to you and maybe you go get some help. Because I want you to stick around and be here for many years in the future, and huffing acetone will probably not be conducive to that. So I'm glad you're okay and you can breathe again, but let's not do that anymore. It's easy for me to say, I know, but nonetheless. Amjad. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Ahmad. Hello, thank you so much for being here. To everybody just joining us, please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. We're here chatting about Freemasonry. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts about Freemasonry, please let me know. Vern, my channel is about Freemasonry, which is the thing that I love. We talk about the ways in which Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located, as well as stories of Masonic interest. And more than that, I just like to talk to people and hang out and chat with them. My favorite thing to do. So let me know how you're doing. And Vern, if you have any questions about Freemasonry, I would love to hear them. Dennis, that is awesome, Dennis. That is, I can only imagine the challenge of building a library with physical books. Like, because you have the philosophical and intellectual challenges of you have to read the books and sort them and study them, and then you have the physical labor of like building the shelves. You have to build the shelves, keeping in mind the weight of the books. You had to, so good for you. What would you say is your favorite book? Like the book that you would suggest everybody read? For me, it's Don Quixote. I love that book. So Solomon King, he was not the first Freemason, but he certainly is an important part of our Masonic ritual and Masonic traditions. That's for sure. I know Solomon's Temple. It's a very important part of our traditions. But the first Freemason, I usually count the first Freemason as Alexander. I forget the first name now. It's well. So Dennis, I don't know if you've heard me go on this little rant before, but one of my favorite books, speaking of books, is The Long Walk, which is going to be turned into movie, or it is turned into movie out in September. It looks incredible. But there's this section of the book, The Long Walk, where one of the characters sees a sign, and the sign says, only 49 miles to Boston, or something like that. And the character thinks to himself, what a stupid, horrible word is only. And I've always taken that philosophy. So you say I only resourced the books. It's like resourcing the books is probably a pretty big deal and something you should be proud of. So don't say only because that diminishes it. You resource the books and that's a big deal and that's something to be proud of. So I'll give you, maybe do some celebratory emojis in honor of the work you did. So yes, Vern, Freemasonry is pretty much a fraternity. There is also a sorority side of it, which is very important as well. But yeah, that's what Freemasonry is. It's a fraternity that evolved out of the stonemason guilds of medieval Europe. So it's a fraternity that has some incredible history behind it, which I love about it. One of the things I love about it. But yeah, that's what it is. Albin Strenrus said hello. Hello, Albin. I do hope you will please hit the like and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. Let me know how it's going and what it is you want to talk about. Good. That's a good reason to do it, Dennis. I think spreading knowledge is important. And spreading knowledge from physical books, like that's kind of a lost art nowadays, and it's good to see it maybe coming back a little bit, you know? Because I think maybe it's one of those things where yes, digital has a lot of benefits and a lot of advantages. Certainly the fact that, it's so easily portable and I can get a book from anywhere on my phone is really, really good. But there's also some downsides to digital, right? So it's, spreading knowledge through physical books, through physical media is a good thing as well. Let's give it another. I keep saying I'm going to end the stream, and then people keep jumping on, and which is wonderful. I love talking to people. So let's just see who else jumps on. If anybody has anything else they want to talk about when it comes to Freemasonry, any thoughts, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear it. How did Solomon's Temple get tied in with Freemasonry? Well, Regius manuscript kind of pulled it. So, I mean, the simplest answer, right, is when Freemasonry was making the transition from operative Masons, which again is Masons who actually built things out of stone, and speculative Masons, which are Masons such as myself, which um, I can't build anything out of stone. They had to create the degree structure and the rituals. And part of that is looking for connections from, for example, the Regius poem or the Halliwell manuscript, which is like 1390. It's this idea of using something that is well known. King Solomon's Temple was very well known, especially because the Bible was, so ubiquitous, as a example for, the building of a better man and using it as a metaphor. If Freemasonry were to be invented in 2025, they probably wouldn't have used King Solomon's Temple. They would probably use, I'm trying to think of what the equivalent would be. Like they would probably use maybe the Notre Dame Cathedral as the example. But it was such a well-known and, it's such a well-known temple. The idea of stonemasons building it was well-known and is found in the Bible, the, Masonic building. Stonemasons had to build it, it's built out of stone, right? That it just kind of got added in. The legend of Hiram Abiff, famously, mathematics pops into it. But the earliest, mention of it is in the Regius poem or the Halliwell manuscript. Um, and again, like when you're trying to create rituals that are symbolic, what a better symbol than something that would have been known to everybody? Because even if you couldn't read, you would have gone to church in the Middle Ages, you would have heard of King Solomon's Temple at some point. But the earliest example is the Regius manuscript, the Halliwell manuscript, and Hiram Abiff, which probably, my suspicion is Hiram Abiff didn't actually exist. He wasn't a real person. Rather, he was a composite of a lot of different people that was turned into one person for biblical purposes to make the story more streamlined. He had help from Hiram Abiff. That's who he had help from. I hope if you're just joining, you will take a moment to please, please, please hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know how you're doing and let me know if there's anything that you guys want to chat about when it comes to Freemasonry. Any thoughts, any comments, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. It's been a great stream so far. I had no idea when I started this I'd be up this late doing it, but it's been a lot of fun. And it's been pretty good for my ego because, um, 40, what is it? 31% of you think I look better, think I'm better looking than Matt Damon or Mark Wahlberg. So I'll take it. I would actually almost agree with you, Dennis. I'm gonna modify that a little bit as a Mason. Geometry is the universal language. Geometry is the basis on which math is founded, right? Or built. For example, Pythagorean's theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, that is as universal a truth as you can get. If you go to any planet, anywhere in the universe, that is going to be true. Pi, the circumference of a circle, divided by the radius, that is going to be true no matter where you go. All the Euclidean principles. So I'm going to argue that geometry is in fact the universal language. Having said that, when I was younger and in school, I was told math was universal language, and that was always what I would have said before I became a Mason and started kind of studying this stuff more in depth, or a kind of the philosophical underpinnings of ideas like that. Well, even in a black hole, but at that point, what you're doing is you're doing geometry on a curved surface, right? So the curvature changes the geometry, but it's still a type of geometry. You just need to know whether you're working in a flat space or a curved space, or on a curved surface. Right? My suspicion, honestly, is probably the actual universe itself is probably flat. It seems pretty flat, but who knows? I've actually written a bunch of stuff about, or not, I've done interviews on Medium with a bunch of different scientists from NASA and Euclid. We talked about gravitational lensing, which is like this geometric principle and why it's so important and useful. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff worth exploring in that. I asked about like what is gravitational lensing. Let's see how many people answered that. Why it's important to Freemasons. Welcome. If you're just joining us, thank you for being here. Jump in the chat, say hello. I had no idea I'd be doing a stream this long, so this is really, really fun. But I just want to give a shout out. There's a YouTuber called Nick Says Boo, which has been I really like his stuff. Milton Knowles. The Insane Witch King. Milton Knowles, thank you for being here. I hope you're having a great night, great morning. I hope you hit the like and subscribe button. I believe the Earth is a sphere, and we are, I'm pretty sure the globe is accurate. That's what I accept, anyways. So yeah, I do not buy the idea of the flat Earth. Vern says, I love physics. I love physics too. Genuinely one of my most favorite things. I am. If you want to make the night even greater, then I hope that you will be so kind, Milton, as to hit the like and subscribe buttons. That would be wonderful and would be truly, truly appreciated. The more likes and the more subscriptions. You can also check out my Patreon, patreon.com/squareandcompass. We have a discount code right now where you can join and get 10% off. I mean, it could be plum shaped, I suppose, Dennis. I'll go with, well, it's not quite a perfect sphere like bulges at the equator, but whatever it is. Circular of some sort. Well, gravity is not holding us down. Gravity is, well, it's curving the space-time around Earth. It's basically attracting us, with its mass. Thank you so much, Milton. I truly appreciate it. Well, no, technically what gravity is gravity is the curvature of space-time based on the mass of an object, right? But I always take it as the simplest way to describe it for our purposes, for like calculations, would be it's Newtonian. It's the attractive force between two objects based on their mass. But yes, technically, Vern, from what I understand, not being an expert, what gravity actually is the curvature of space-time. That is true. It is bumpy. And that is true as well, Dennis. Gravity is a theory. And who knows, right? As they try to determine some type of theory of everything, combining gravity with quantum, combining general relativity with quantum theory, maybe they'll find a new theory that will, manage to bridge that gap. But, gravity does seem to make sense to me in terms of like special relativity and general relativity does seem to make sense to me from what I understand. They have been detected. Cool says gravity is definitely a theory. Cool, welcome. Thank you so much. Well, no, the theory isn't. By the way, cool, I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button. When they say gravity is just a theory, what they're not saying is like, if we found a different theory, we'd all start floating. It's rather, how do you explain what gravity is? How do you explain the feeling? How do you explain the fact that objects fall, that we're tethered to the earth, right? Why is that the case? And the theory of gravity is just, again, modern times, the theory of the curvature of space-time, the theory of attractive forces. Maybe there's another theory that is better able to describe it, but I don't know what that would be. It seems like general relativity is batting, 100% at creating observable, predictable outcomes, which is the test for any theory, right? I can't, Dennis, I'm not sure how that would be the case. I mean, there would be, no reason why you couldn't say, God created gravity. Um, or God, I mean, and some people use gravity as proof of God, or more particularly the gravitational constant, right? They'll say the gravitational constant is a very specific number. And if it was a little bit, if gravity was a little bit stronger, then the Big Bang could never have happened because gravity would have been too strong and everything would have just crunched up together and just stayed together. And you wouldn't have had this big universe. Or if gravity was a little bit weaker, no two particles would join together or be attracted to each other. They'd all just fly apart forever and ever. And they say based on that, proof of, God fine-tuning the universe. I don't believe in that myself. I believe in the multiverse theory. But so, a lot of people use gravity as kind of a proof of God in some ways. So, you know, you kind of take what you can get with it and kind of what works best for you, I think. But I'm not sure why gravity would cause me to lose faith in God. In fact, Sir Isaac Newton, who was the first one who came up with a theory of gravity, or at least a theory as to how to describe gravity, was a staunch, ardent believer in God. So, let me ask you this: I do not. Well, I mean, so I believe that there are objects in the sky that are unidentified because people um you see something in the sky for a second and you don't know what it is. I believe that happens, and there are many objects that have been seen in the sky that have not been identified yet. I don't believe that those are aliens. Um, well, maybe there's aliens in the other multiverse. Yeah, I don't believe in our universe there exists aliens. That doesn't mean in a multiverse there might not be other universes in which aliens exist, or in which, the Earth is on a different maybe the Earth is a different location, so life forms on Mars. Who knows? Oh, nobody's bullying me. I appreciate Dennis. I consider Dennis a friend, even though it's just a YouTube friend. I still consider him a friend and a audience member, and it's good to have him. Baby, BB, I hope that you will be so kind as to hit the like and subscribe button. That would be truly, truly appreciated, and thank you so much. I mean, they have visual and radar data of objects that they can identify, but I don't believe they're necessarily aliens. I think the most likely explanation is they are special aircraft being designed by different militaries, right? Is my suspicion for whatever it's worth. Most likely, or it's just a mistaken reading, right? The radar data and visual data, it's people just seeing something they can't identify, maybe because it passes by them too quickly, or it's machine error in the case of radar, or machine implementation error, and that's what they come with, you know. That is true, but I don't necessarily believe the universe is infinite. I believe the multiverse is infinite. I believe there are, multiple universes where it's infinite, but I believe for our purposes, it's finite. It's so big we can never reach the end of it. So it might be practically infinite, but I do believe there is an end to it. Um, so because of that, I don't believe in aliens. I think we're it. I think we are the one intelligent life that exists in the galaxy, in the universe, in fact, in our universe. And as such, I think it's really, really important that we keep that in mind and try not to blow ourselves up with nuclear weapons or something. Because if we go, that's it. Then it's silent after that. So where does it begin? Well, I don't think it has to have a beginning because like I cannot so like our universe begins 13.6 billion years ago with the Big Bang. But within that, the way I kind of always think of it is you have this canvas of possibilities, and that canvas of possibilities has existed forever. I think it's eternal. Alexis, no, it is not. This is my stream. I talk about Freemasonry. However, during the process of this stream, we just started talking about other stuff, kind of shooting the poop because it's fun. This is kind of like an all-night philosophy session, which I really, really enjoy. So I know you're playing, Vern. So Alexis, I do hope you'll be so kind as hit the like and subscribe button. So as I was saying, Dennis, I think you have an infinite canvas of basically possibilities, and every now and then on that canvas, you have a big bang happen in one location. And that location expands and expands and expands, and it creates a certain type of universe. So, um, maybe, there's a pocket where this big bang happens, and in that universe, electrons are the size of beach balls. And there's different constants for gravity, and the planets are arranged completely differently. And, stars are made of of cheese. Who knows, right? And some of those universes they're conducive to forming life, like in ours, and some of those they're not. Um, so that's my theory, and I don't think that canvas of possibilities had a beginning. I think it's eternal. Because I've never understood the argument as to why there must be a beginning. Because, like, I personally can't conceive of nothing. Like, I don't understand what nothing is practically, if that makes any sense, Dennis. Like, you know, just the absence of things isn't equivalent with nothing, you know? Like, even if I was floating in space somehow and could, exist floating in space, and there's still something, there's still direction, there's still location. I can still look left and right. My dad wants me to join his lodge. I mean, a lot of times. So Alexis, I'll get to your in just one second. I hope Alexis you'll like and subscribe, by the way. I mean, Milton, what I'll say is oftentimes it's wonderful to join your dad's lodge. And if he wants you to join, that must mean he thinks very highly of you to want you to be part of his thing. Having said that, this is just me and my opinion. Your goal should always be first and foremost, do do something that you're going to enjoy, do what's right for you. Like I didn't join my lodge. I didn't join my dad's lodge. I joined a different lodge. Um, when I moved away because I wanted to join on my own kind of as my own person. But you should ultimately, at the end of the day, do what you think is best. But if your dad wants you to join his lodge, that must mean your dad thinks highly of you. And so maybe talk to your dad and talk to the lodge and get the process started. It could be family connections in Freemasonry are a really wonderful thing. And as someone who's known a lot of two-generation Freemasons, um, and three generation and four generation, and myself having a dad who's a Freemason, I do understand how special it can be. Alexis, that's the first American stream. So no, we're not Christian. Freemasonry is open to all faiths: Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, etc., etc. So I don't know, Alexis, a ton about quantum computing. I understand the basis of it, the idea that it can basically be in multiple states at once, which means it can act, you know, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times as fast as your normal computer processor. The advances they're making, I'm not sure, I don't know anything about the advances other than nothing but respect for the people doing that work. You know, they absolutely deserve all the respect in the world for I'm a big fan of scientists and science. I think that stuff is vital to our growth as a species. I'm a pro technologist. I'm even pro AI. So, we'll see. I asked some questions in the past. If a robot or an artificial intelligence wanted to join your Masonic lodge, would you say yes or no? Got some interesting answers. Oh, the answers, Vern? I mean, it depended on. So some people said no, because you have to be a man and artificial intelligence isn't a man, right? And then I said, well, what if the artificial intelligence says in its mind, it's a male, it's a man. The artificial intelligence views itself, as a male. And some said, well, if it says an artificial intelligence says it's, the male version, then they might accept it. Mark David, greetings from New Zealand. Welcome. It's wonderful to have a New Zealander join. Please, if you get the moment, I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button. And let me know how you're doing. We're talking about Freemasonry. Others said they wouldn't do it because, like, to be a Freemason, you need to be, an adult. You need to be over 21 in Ontario. How could you determine an artificial intelligence's age? When you're joining, there's a lot of practical information you need: addresses, phone numbers, contact info, the age. None of that stuff would be on an artificial intelligence. So, like, how could you actually do the application process? How do you do the interviews, right? Um, and some said yes because some said yes because they didn't want to get on the bad side of the AI. So they wanted to vote yes because if AI is watching my streams and see they said no, then they might get punished for it when the AIs take over. So there's that as well to keep in mind. Thank you, Mark. I truly appreciate that. Um, Species Trade. That's an interesting name. Species Traders. Welcome, Species. I hope you hit the like and subscribe button. I think there's a few different reasons, Species. Paranoia is part of it. I think Sometimes it's one of those things where you're looking for a scapegoat of some sort, either for problems or challenges in your own life, and a private society, because it's private, you can fill in your head whatever ideas you want. Um, I think honestly, and this might be a little bit species, this might be a little bit controversial, but I do think in the case of the Catholic Church, there was a level of jealousy. I read the Humanum Genus paper. That was the main paper that kind of set out the Catholic Church's dislike of Freemasonry. And one thing I noticed in there on a few occasions, the paper kept on saying, like, these Freemasons, their numbers are growing so rapidly. They're getting more and more Freemasons. The numbers are going up. And I kind of read that a little bit as a certain level of jealousy. Like the church was upset that Freemasonry was getting so many more members than the church. And the church wanted to put a stop to that because if people are spending time in lodge, they're not spending time at the church. And I did get that sense. Also in Nazi Germany and for like governments that are dictatorships or tyrannical, any organization that has any type of privacy, is considered a threat. And so they try to create conspiracy theories to turn the public against them, to give them excuses to, you know, round them up, basically. Because again, and Dennis, I'm not saying that this is what you meant by it by any means, right? I don't mean that. But one thing you do see amongst certain tyrannical governments is this idea of like, there should be no secrets. The truth belongs to everybody. So, they'll say like, and they'll use that to cast aspersions on Freemasons, and they'll say like, there can be no secret or private societies because truth belongs to us all. So, it's easy to cast aspersions, and then also it's easy to it hasn't just been Masons, by the way. Like Oddfellows got it sometimes. It's just easy to look for a group, right? Um, and so I do think in some cases, though, it's jealousy. It's also jealousy, again, if you're a political party and you're trying to get members, you're going to be upset if Freemasonry keeps taking people. Um, so, Alexis, what I would say, honestly, if I had to very briefly summarize what the Masons are, I would say to be a Freemason is to believe that the world can be made better through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. And Freemasons are men who want to make the world better, or in some cases, maybe who do make the world better, through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. I hope that was a good answer. It does go back, Dennis. You got me there. I'll give you that. You've got me there. But the negative views of people in Freemasonry has tended to be political or religious, either political parties or religious parties, or sometimes both. So, but Dennis, touche, you got me on that one. Welcome. If you're just joining us, I hope you will hit that like button and subscribe button. Let me know how it's going, if there's anything you want to talk about. I agree. No, most normal people do. That's why Freemasonry is has been around for so long, because it's a normal thing to want. And it's a wonderful thing to want, right? So yeah. And people find it different ways. Like Alexis, what you basically said there, I think, Plato, or sorry, Aristotle said a few thousand years ago, he said man is a political animal. And political animal doesn't mean political as in they're Republicans or Democrats or conservative or liberal. He meant people want to form communities. It's the most natural thing. And when they form those communities, part of forming those communities is creating rules and structures and organizations within it as well. I mean, yeah, and I'm not, by the way, I'm not knocking, any church. Catholic Church has done a lot of not so good things in the world and also a lot of really good things in the world. And I know a lot of Catholics and I love a lot of Catholics. So, but I do think a lot of the Catholic Antipathy towards Freemasonry comes from jealousy, to be honest. So the Bavarian Illuminati are not. The Bavarian Illuminati species actually started as an anti-Masonic group. The person who started it, Adam Weinhaupt, was a Freemason, found Freemasonry to be both too expensive and not esoteric enough for his liking, and started his own group to kind of give the middle finger to Freemasons. From what I understand, he aped some of our rituals and took it with him when he started that group as another kind of middle finger. But species and the Knights Templar, there is a Masonic order, Knights Templar. It's a pendant body, it's called. The original Knights Templar were not connected to Freemasonry in any real way. It's just when they were looking for more bodies to create, they used the legends of the Knights Templar and the history of it as a kind of like the same way they used Solomon's Temple as a way to develop rituals. I would have figured Freemasonry started. No, Freemasonry did not start from the church, Vern. Freemasonry started from the European stone guilds in Europe. So Freemasonry actually started from stonemasonry and stonemason guilds, otherwise known as like trade unions. So it started from trade unions, right? What is esoteric? Esoteric refers to knowledge that is internal. Exoteric, EXO, refers to knowledge that is shared. So, for example, a family recipe, which is known exclusively to members of a family and no one else, would be esoteric knowledge because it's knowledge that is within a closed group, right? So, a family recipe, your banking information would be very esoteric. Um, you know, sometimes it's esoteric because it's guarded really carefully. Sometimes it's esoteric because it's just takes a long time to learn. So like medical information, like how to treat diseases, it's not esoteric because doctors are hiding it. It's esoteric because how many people want to go spend 4 years going through medical school to like get that information? But in some cases, like in the case of a family recipe or banking information, esoteric is kept, hidden. So Freemasonry has an esoteric element in that the rituals and what happens in the rituals is meant to stay private amongst Freemasons as a way to create bonds of brotherhood. Exoteric would be also, though, this live stream and everything I share here is exoteric knowledge. It's knowledge that it's okay to share with the public, with a large group of people, right? With whoever is on YouTube at 4:30 in the morning because they're crazy like me. Um, I believe in a supreme being. I do not believe in angels or demons. Um, but I believe in a supreme being. So, but again, Dennis, I do kind of quibble with the idea of power. I mean, I've heard that a million times, obviously, right? And there's some truth to it, but um, again, like sometimes knowledge is power, sometimes knowledge is connecting, sometimes shared knowledge is how you create connections between generations, between families. Again, you would never say like this person has a private family recipe that's esoteric, therefore they have power. They just have a recipe that they want to share with their families. Keeping your banking information private does not give you some type of, unfair level of power. It just gives you, it's maintaining secrecy and knowledge, but for a purpose. So not every time that things are kept esoteric is the purpose nefarious. Mark David. Well, so the building of the pyramids would have been done by slaves, but by stonemasons, right? It would have been organized by people or stonemasons who had skill and ability in building things from stone, which is absolutely pretty impressive skill to do. But it wasn't by Freemasons. Freemasons wouldn't show up until about 5,000 years later, 4,000 years later. And welcome everybody who's joining. Milton Knowles, thank you for information about the Illuminati. I always think of, Adam Winehouse. Why I always forget his name. Version of it. That's the one I think of. I'm not even sure if the Illuminati are still floating around anymore. I have no real knowledge of them. Um, but thank you once again, everybody who's joined. It's been an absolute wonderful stream. I had no idea it'd be on for this long. I'm happy to keep going for a few more minutes just to see if anybody else shows up. Um, and yeah, and I'll be back on, I was going to say tomorrow, but I'll be back on stream today because it's 4:30 in the morning at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to once again talk about Freemasonry. I'm not sure I know much of any, like when you say that, like we have Wiccans who are Freemasons, but we have again Muslims, Christians. It's just about the belief in a supreme being. I mean, again, and different Masons have different views. Again, I speak for myself. I want to make that clear. I've always viewed, and because I'm not a particularly spiritual kind of the woo person, right? I view the ritual as not a magical thing in the most strictest sense, not some type of it's rituals, it's ways to bond each other through shared experiences, but rituals also have the benefit of they calm people down, they provide stability, all of that type of stuff. I mean, people have their own personal rituals. They wake up in the morning, they maybe put their shoes on a certain way, they drive to work a certain way. These are all kind of rituals that help create stability in our lives. Why was Freemasonry started in the first place? Asked Species. Man is a political animal. I mean, Freemasonry started because you had stonemason and Masonic guilds that started to lose their numbers because less and less people were building things from stone. To deal with that, they started to allow speculative masons to join in order to keep their numbers up. These were men who did not themselves want to build things out of stone, but wanted to be part of a union of some sort of trade guild for the social aspect, as well as a social safety net. If they fell on hard times, they knew there was somebody they could go to receive assistance. But if you want to even go more personal to it or more broad, when you say why was Freemasonry started in the first place, why do kids build clubhouses and then start clubs with their friends and, hang out with their friends and build tree forts and invite people in? Why has man since the beginning, formed clubs and groups and created rituals and ritual spaces? It's the human thing to do. It's a way to, you know, create a group, to be part of a group, to be part of something bigger than yourself. Um, you know, um, you say like why does anybody start why do we have team sports? Why do people start football clubs? I'm not talking about like professional football players. Why do a bunch of people, decide to spend a weekend getting together and playing football for fun at the park? Because people like to be part of teams, they like to be part of something bigger than themselves. And by being part of something bigger than themselves, they can multiply their efforts and their work and try to make the world a better place. They were skilled. They were lifting 1,000-ton blocks, but there were a lot of them, and the Pharaoh did not care whether they lived or died. So, um, you know, keep that in mind too, right? If you have a Pharaoh who does not care at all about whether his subjects live or die and has a lot of them and has absolute control, you can get, 50, 100 people to lift 1,000-ton block. And if in the process a lot of them die, that's okay. And also, if you're willing to spend a couple hundred years building this thing, because you have multiple pharaohs who keep adding on to it, and It used to be very common that a massive building project like the pyramids, like cathedrals, the expectation was it would not be finished in your lifetime. It would take 2 or 3 lifetimes. Well, I don't think they've disappeared. I think we're replacing them with other rituals. So, for example, now you could argue starting a Facebook page is a type of ritual. It's an online ritual. It's not, I don't think, as moving or as important as rituals in person, but I think we're just replacing group individuals with individual rituals. Whether those are good or not is up to anybody's guess. That's true, Milton. That is how it started. I mean, some of the Solomon stuff was there even with the stonemasons. Again, the Halliwell or Regius manuscript, right? Some of that stuff was there even before. Because again, it was teaching through symbolism, right? If you're teaching stonemasons about the things they can build, why not use one of the most famous buildings of antiquity that everybody's going to know about as an example that they can base their work on, you know? Um, I have heard of Skull and Bones, Mark David. Uh, well, I mean, sure, because again, I guess I can say, and you kind of have to just sort of said, I guess, take my word on this. The history of Masonry, is not really kept a secret, at least in my, because, again, as I explained today, right, it's the stonemason guilds allowing speculative masons to join. Eventually, more and more speculative masons join. So the history of it, I believe, is fairly well known. It's not kept a secret. What's kept a secret is the modes of recognition, the handshakes, what is the handshake, all that type of stuff. That's what's kept a secret, not the history. I do not know the Jinn. When I hear Jinn, I think of Wishmaster, the movie, which is a great movie, by the way. Very cool, Milton. That is awesome to hear. Um, yeah, and it's unfortunately, like I said, I wish it's something I could say I know more about. I tend to be, again, somewhat hesitant when it comes to some of the more ritual and some of the more spiritual side of Freemasonry. Some, like a Chuck Dunning, is very much into that. Um, but it's not really my thing. But Chuck Dunning might be someone you could look at um, checking out. Chuck Dunning wrote Contemplative Freemasonry. Okay, I mean, I've never, I've had my initiation ceremonies, my degree ceremonies, and I've witnessed hundreds of ceremonies. I've never heard of, in any of the ones I've seen, um, um, I've never heard of evil spirits or, the word jinn ever come up in any of the rituals I've been part of, either I've partaken in or just watched. So I'm not sure. That's not to say, though, again, there's a lot of Freemasonry, there's a lot of Masons out there. Not every Masonic experience is the same, but it's not one I've ever heard of. Um, yeah, I mean, but so I guess for me, it's like when Mark says they were perfect, people are capable of some pretty great things. I mean, I guess I'd have to know what is do you mean meant by perfect? Like, if you have enough, again, you have enough people and enough time, and you don't really care about their well-being, you can push people to do some pretty incredible things. Is a primarily online world? Well, I think it's detrimental, but I also think it's kind of one of those things where it just is what it is. Like, worrying about whether it's beneficial or detrimental is like we're not going back to a primarily in-person world. I think the online space is only going to grow, exclusively going to grow. I hate the word only, So I think we kind of have to accept it, and we as Freemasons need to figure out how to adapt to that as much as we can. This realm has one truth. I appreciate that, Dennis, but I'm not quite sure. I think this realm may have many truths. Though I guess it depends also what you mean by realm. If you believe in the multiverse like I do, then maybe it is true that this realm has one truth, but there are many universes with many realms and many truths. Yes, that is, by the way, Shane, welcome. I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button. Yes, I agree. The Rosicrucians are different. They are a very important kind of Masonic appendant body offshoot of Freemasonry, but they're not the same thing. Okay, my grandfather was a Mason was a Mason as well, as was my father, as am I. I hope, Shane, you will hit the like and subscribe buttons. I would truly appreciate it, and thank you for joining. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great morning. It is 4:45 a.m. here. So, awesome. I love the Rosicrucians. I've done an interview with a few of them. I mean, Rose Croix, right? No. I mean, to my knowledge, he's not a Freemason at all. I've never heard any evidence that he is a Freemason. So, again, maybe he would have joined in, I guess, New York, and everybody was super quiet about it, and he's been super quiet about it. But I I've never seen or heard any evidence that he's a Freemason. So the last president to be a Freemason was either Joe Biden, if you believe a Freemason can be made on site, or Gerald Ford. So where are you, Shane? 6:45 p.m., 12 hours. Asia? Russia? Trying to think. That's like almost a 12-hour gap. So the Australia. I would love to visit Australia. It's on my bucket list, 100%. Wow, we got two people knew that. I think we're in a multiverse because when I look at the quote unquote fine tuning of the universe, all of the unique and interesting constants and physical properties that seem to be like perfectly kind of adapted for life, right? Otherwise known as the strong anthropomorphic principle. I think because people will say, if there was just a single universe, how likely is it that all of these different factors would be so perfect that we would exist? Wouldn't it make more sense that the universe would be hostile for life? Because it has to be within this particular range. The most logical solution to me is if there's just one universe, then yes, the likelihood of it being like a one in a billion shot that the universe would fit life would be very unlikely. But if there's a infinite number of multiverses with an infinite number of um, physical properties, an infinite number of different values for gravity, for electrons, for whatever it is, then when it's infinite, then yes, one of them has to, we have to exist, and then one of us has to be right for us, and we're just that's the one, of course, we end up in. It's kind of like a bunch of different potholes on a road, and if it rains, the water, the water may think to itself like, wow, this pothole fits me perfectly, but it's not. The pothole was there first, and the water formed itself around it. Um, yeah, but I don't believe it started, right? That's the key, Dennis, right? I don't think it started. I think it's eternal. And some people have said you're describing God the long way because then who created the multiverse? But I don't think, I think it was infinite. I think the fabric of possibilities on which the universes form, on which each universe within the multiverse forms, is infinite, is forever. Now, don't get me wrong, I do believe in a supreme being, um, but I guess I always look first for the scientific solution, and I think that's the most likely answer to any question. I believe the supreme being, to the extent that as it exists, is ultimately a scientist, if that's the right word. It's not creating things or destroying things. It's watching things. It's a watcher. So you could say, in that case, I'm kind of when I say the fabric, the infinite fabric of possibilities on which the multiverse exists. I mean, you could argue that that's a type of God, but I don't believe that that multiverse is omnipotent or omnipresent or is watching us or judging us, right? I believe there is a supreme being, but I don't believe the supreme being acts. I think the supreme being is it's not creating the universe in that sense, right? It's a supreme being that rather, connects us all together, loves us all, and wants us to do well. And it may watch every infinite universe. Who knows? If I'm making any sense, it's 4:50 in the morning. I'm not that smart, so maybe I'm not making any sense at all. Who knows? But I hope I've at least somewhat given my answer. So species, I hope that that made sense to you, how I managed to um, how I managed to come to that conclusion. Okay, Mark David, New Zealand. It's funny, I am addicted to Taskmaster, the series, and there was a Taskmaster New Zealand series, and one of their tasks, one thing they had to do was walk the distance of the beehive. And when I was watching it, I was like, what is the beehive? The beehive is a tiny thing. I learned later that it was actually a building, the parliament. And yes, beehive in the States, especially, is a very important Masonic symbol. So, how cool is that? I think that's awesome. Um, so, thank you for sharing that. All right, this has been an absolute blast. I do have to do another stream tomorrow at 1 p.m. Unless anybody has any other questions or anything else that they want to talk about, I hope that it's been fun. I hope you will hit the like and subscribe button. I truly appreciate if you're here in North America, you staying up till the early hours of the morning with me. If you are not from, um, if you're in Australia and it's 12-hour different, then um, it's still been fun having you join. Had about, I don't even know how many people we've had join, but we've had a bunch. 558 views, which is awesome. So thank you guys so much. And thank you to everybody who voted that I am better looking than Matt Damon and Mark Wahlberg. Deal with that, Matt Damon and Mark Wahlberg. It's been a lot of fun. Come join me tomorrow once again. And one more time, I'll mention it because it ends June 1st. You can go to um, patreon.com/square and compass and use code, if I can get this right, 23D69, and you can become a member of the Patreon. You can do it for free, or you can join at a paid level. Well, I mean, no mega party for me personally, but for you do you, and you party like it's 1999. And it makes me very sad to think that 1999 was 26 years ago. Thank you, species. I enjoy it. I love talking to people. And I also I'm a bit of a night owl, so honestly, staying up till 4:50 in the morning is not so bad because I get to hang out with all of you really cool people. But if you do want to thank me for my time, then patreon.com/square and compass. All right, guys, it's been a blast. I will look up Mark Ellis for sure, Mark David. I promise you. And thank you, everybody. And if you're still up, if you're in, Australia, New Zealand, and you get the chance, maybe check out some of my videos. I just released a video about meditation and mindfulness. Might be fun to check out. All right, guys, have a great day, great night, great whatever time it is. Maybe I'll see you in a few more hours. Thank you, Dennis.